soon we're going to continue to see people reenacting, people getting their chairs, people doing their parodies. People are getting very creative. Everyone's creative, and they're going to continue to um mock this situation only because, like we said earlier, it's a situation where no one's really getting hurt by deadly force, right? So, people are just proud of the fact that black folks can come together. Now we need to come together on other terms as well, like not
Yes.
just fighting.
Come on now.
We got to come, if we come together and help a man that's getting jumped,
Getting a
we should be able
chair.
to
Creative.
come. Oh wait, hold on now.
It's not me.
Getting a little echo. We're getting a little echo. But if we're able to come together like that, we should be able to come together, on other occasions where it's not so negative and in a positive light. Good evening, Mr. Hank. How are you?
I'm good, ma'am. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about. That's
What's
what I'm
up,
talking
Hank?
about. What's up now,
I
Shop? How you
heard
doing?
that they identified. Yeah, I'm good, bro. I heard they identified a couple of the people. One was Mr. Hank, and one was a guy named Tyrell.
Yeah. Don't
And
do.
Oh wait,
it was
what?
their opposing families.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, I was not in Alabama during that time.
They
Oh
spotted your
man.
blue vehicle, Hank. That's how they
Oh
knew it was
man.
you. I'm just kidding.
Nah,
So
I'm
what do you
just
what do you think about this, Hank?
Yeah, it was okay. Which one is this one? I've seen a couple. I've seen the one. This the same one where the chair got involved. Is this the?
Well, this is before the chair. There are a lot of different videos out there. I'll play it one more time.
Okay.
Um, let's see here. This is the beginning of it.
They wrong for that now. That boy swimming his ass over there. Yeah, damn. That boy finna help that boy. Get up there, young boy. Get up there, young buck. Get up there, young buck.
All right.
So this is a different one. All right, this is a different one. The one I've been seeing is the one, I guess the one is in Alabama.
no, that's the
It's in
same
Alabama.
one. You
It's
just
the
saw
same. It's
the
the same fight.
second portion.
Oh,
Hank, you
okay.
saw the
Mhm.
second
So
portion when they
that's
continued the fight.
okay, because what I thought was the reason why they got into it because the boat ran into another boat or it wouldn't move the boat.
Right. So there was
Okay.
a boat that was in the place of another boat that was just docking. So they needed them to move that boat in order for them to get the group of people that were on this other boat off. And so they kind of, swiped the boat, and then whoever was on that the dock was going back and forth with the security guard. The security guard was telling him that, hey, you guys need to move the boat. And next thing you know, the white guy charges in on the black guy. He takes off his hat, and that was all she wrote.
So I see mean like that was a signal they throwing up like the bat signal.
Yeah.
And, hey, we need to mount up and regulate.
Mhm. I think he threw off his hat to pretty much say, I'm on the clock, but I'm not on the clock because somebody about to get clocked right now. Like I think that's what I got when he threw off the hat.
You thought saying, hey, I'm clocking out and
like I'm working,
I'm
but
about to really clock out. Okay,
exactly. Right.
Yeah, I mean that could be the case. I mean that got wild and loose, and I don't blame him, man. Look here. I've been in a situation like that before where altercation has broke out, and brothers came together. We found a common goal,
Mhm.
and it was that white man. That white man was the enemy that day, and he caused some hell. And it seemed like that's what happened that day. That on that dock,
Right.
it was some hell was about to be caught.
Yep.
So
And then look, had it stayed one-on-one, I think that people would have stayed out of it. But the moment the dock worker got jumped, that's when
Right.
you saw people decide to come in and like, all right, lessons are gonna be learned
yeah,
today. Learned.
yeah. It was like three. What you look like? It was first. It was one-on-one. Then two that looked like younger guys got involved. And that, like you said, King, it went overboard with that. That's when it. Okay, we're gonna level this playing field right here. We not sit back and watch this go down like this now.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I must have seen different angles or different point of view, because the other tape I seen that the guy brought out the chair, and then I thought I was watching WWE or something.
No.
Yeah, nah, that came afterwards, Hank. That they was
Yeah.
like, yo, we need to calm this down. Here, have a seat.
Well,
No. They had a seat upside their head. I just don't understand how we got to that point.
He was crowning some folk with that chair.
Yes, I don't understand how we got to that point, because it's like, okay, I understand y'all jumping in because bro man is getting jumped on. I can understand that. I literally can see that going down in a neighborhood. Somebody's getting jumped and people running to come to his rescue. Cool. But then when I saw people getting smacked upside their head with chairs, I said, okay, we have taken it to another level, folks. All right. Have y'all waited all y'all life for this moment? It just seemed like the velocity of the smack of both of them. Okay. The one lady got smacked on her head, and then the man, he was just going at it with the chair. And I just felt like at that point, it was just like, okay, why do we have to pick up chairs? That's why I feel like this is going to be in the media and going to be a parody for a while, because it's not going to be belts no more. It's going to be a chair. It's just now we have this. It's kind of, when once you put it on the internet, it's kind of like etched in stone. So now it's like, okay, we defended ourselves, we defended our people. But did we take it a little bit too far when we got to that point? Because I was gung ho. That's a term my boss like to use. I was gung ho until I saw the chairs being hit. Because, like we said, there were no guns. It was just fists. So why did we escalate to chairs? That was my only issue with the video. Why? Why did we get to chairs? Because you saw he hit that lady in the head with like she was a whack-a-mole, okay? And then turned around and he got arrested. I said if he would have never hit her with the chair, he wouldn't have got arrested.
Is that what that game called? One you hit the gopher when he pops his head up out of her whack-a-mole? God damn.
But it's just like at this point, it's just, we're just doing too much at this point. Welcome, Rumen and Reviews. How are you this evening?
What's going on? Just one thing. Let me in, coach. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. That was crazy.
It just, yeah. God Happened to Me says, you got to understand the history of the riverboat. Enslaved blacks were bought and sold by the millions at that very dock. So, yeah, so that's another, angle on this. It's like history is now on the other side of us being able to defend ourselves instead of being, sold and bought at the very place that this incident, happened. So that's another reason why it's going to be etched in stone, God Happened to Me also says, and that doc is in walking distance of the Equal Justice Initiative, Brian Stevenson, about the man from Just Mercy. So it brings about, depending on your age, depending on your level of education, you can definitely again pinpoint this as a time in history. A lot of people were saying, they were making August 5th like a holiday. So it's just I don't know. When they got to the chairs, they lost me when they got to the chairs. I was, like, okay, I can understand why y'all are doing what y'all doing. But then we got to them chairs and it just took a turn. Then the one guy threw a woman in the water. Did y'all see that? He threw it in the water. Like the
So we
woman
went
couldn't even get
from
out. I wonder how she got out. Okay. I know somebody gonna make a parody of that. All right. They gonna do a Titanic or something where they got her on the edge. Like, okay, Jane. All right, this is it. I'm telling you, people are gonna take that because it was just too many angles. It went on for so long that every time I watched it today, I tried to watch a different person in action. Every single time I watched it because it was like you couldn't watch everything at once. You couldn't. But I
Well,
do appreciate the people that came to that man's rescue because we do know that people don't come to a black man's rescue. Um, I definitely do appreciate that. I do appreciate even there were even in the beginning there was a either a white guy trying to pull them his people, whether he knew them or whether he was associated with them in any way, shape, or form. He was trying to pull them off of that man, and there were white men fighting him to stop fighting them. Like, you know what I mean? He was trying to pull them off, and the one white guy was like, "Nah, this is gonna go down." So it was just like it was one guy that was behind them that saw it, and it looked like he was with his family, and he was like, "Oh no, this is not going down on my watch." And he was the first black guy to come down and try to break it up. So, like I said, I appreciate the community coming in to help, but I do truly feel that once we got to the chairs, it was a bit much. But when you think about the history of where this was at, and the history of our people, was it chair too much? It makes you wanna
man.
it's heart-wrenching to see, but at the end of the day, blood was shed in a way where, no one was getting shot and killed at. So um hey,
What's
I just don't know.
interesting
I
is
just don't know if I would have picked up a chair. It's just that part just blew me.
well, what's interesting is that I get your perspective, and I can agree with much of it. I think the key word here, ladies and gentlemen, is solidarity. Something we haven't seen in quite some time. And not that I'm saying, and it was solidarity on both parts. Just one happened to be stronger, or one happened to end one on one side of the fence, and one happened to end on the other. But they
Mhm,
had solidarity, and we don't often practice solidarity in our black communities unless it's in gangs and against each other.
mhm,
And
mhm,
not that I'm promoting it against anyone, but to see that it was people who weren't associated with each other coming to each other's defense in an unfair circumstance is really what I think was promising, or what I I liked about how the circumstance was shown. But to your point, yeah, things do get out of hand at times. But again, if we muted the mics and put on uniforms, I've seen similar things with our justice system, and that is what really concerns me more than anything, is that we need to get better control of ourselves. And it doesn't matter what job you have, it should matter about how you're trying to de escalate things. And I don't know if they had a good, uh, it was great that it didn't escalate, to everybody's point, with weapons and of such. But
mhm.
we do need to learn better how to de escalate. But there was a lot of alcohol, there was a lot of egos, and egos and alcohol, there's a result.
Okay, so my question for you is, how do you de-escalate something like that?
Well, first off, um, that one guy who ran in
Mhm.
and jumped on, you first get him and defuse him, whomever it is. But then they had other ones jumping in. So what the guy did, the brother who came down, he actually did a good job of de-escalating everything. He
Right, he
just
didn't
went
come
in,
in trying to swing at
separated.
everybody,
Yeah,
right.
he threw people, get out of here. He did a great job of de-escalating it. I wish that it would have happened a little sooner, before everybody was jumping on that one guy, the
Mhm,
security guard. And the other thing is, uh, the security guard, woo, it was like he made he as soon as he got here, he's like, oh, that's where we going. All right, that's what the hat meant to me or represented to me.
mhm,
Oh, he didn't just hit. Oh, word. That's what we doing. It's like when you take off your shirt. That's what it seemed like when he took off his hat. Like, oh, there are no rules any longer. We are about to
mhm,
go get at it, and he did. But then the other guys who came in just jumped on him, and no, everybody was just sitting around watching it. I commend the gentleman who came down from the Raptors and started just separating everything,
mhm,
and
mhm,
that was part of how we could de-escalate. It was a great example of de-escalation, actually, if you
right,
really reflect on it. I would love to see the conversations now in hindsight with both parties. I would love to just
right,
sit them in a room and hear that conversation.
Hmm.
right, I was thinking about that, because this has so much social media coverage, I'm like, I wonder if the security officer, is going to come to social media to then give us, the play-by-play, y'all know how, like, on the next day for football, they give you the play-by-play, and they got the mics right on the field, and you can hear the conversations, like, I'm wondering if he's going to come forth. I know one of the guys, I don't know exactly which one, but it was one of the 2 that were down there in the initial, fight with the man. He said, "I didn't know that 65-year-old could, like, throw hands like that or something like that." So one of the guys have come forward. Like, his face was, you could tell it was him in the fight. He had things up his nose, pretty much saying, like, "I didn't even realize that." But my thing also is with this, if it was the other way around, what if it was a white officer, doing his job, and, a black man came in and was being pushy, or whatever the exchange was between them, and then came in to, hurt or harm this man, and then another black man came in, and, like, what would that have looked like? Would there have been any type of, firearms used in that case? I don't want to say the what ifs, but you always wonder if the shoe was on the other foot, how it would have went down. But in that case, it seems as though they were at a outing, like you said, where there was a lot of alcohol, a lot of liquor, um, and luckily no one had firearms, and if they did, they didn't use it. But I do wonder if it was the other way around and it was started by a black man, if things would have gone differently.
Well, you also have to think about if, let's say, an officer was involved. It doesn't matter, race or gender. That this whole story would be completely different. We're gonna be having a different conversation right now.
Mhm.
And one thing we keep forgetting, and I keep telling people this all the time, and this is probably because I'm Greek. We forget where we come from. History will repeat ourselves if we don't keep in mind. Like, we're taking statues done that reminds us of our history. Yeah, it's a dark history, it's a nasty history. I'm not denying that, but it gives you a reminder where we came from.
Okay. All right. Well, I did want to just get you guys' opinion on that, since that was one of the things that was, highlighted very colorfully in social media, because it definitely took storm to social media, and a lot of people are talking about it. Like I said, it was going to be something that's going to be mocked for a while, and everybody's going to know the reference. So grooming and reviews, like you said, things that people are taking away, and it's our history. I think this is one of those things that's definitely going to go down in history, and people aren't going to forget about it, and people are going to remind you um, what happened, how it happened, what was used when it happened, all that good stuff, and we're all going to know where it came from. So this is just one of those things that go down in history, and it's unfortunate, but the fortunate thing is, I don't think there were and no one lost their life. No one had to be, rushed to the hospital because of a gun wound, and things like that. So I do hope and pray that those who were hurt woke up the next day and they may have gotten out of bed in a little pain, but they knew what the cause was. And those who started it, I hope that they never start something like this again, because guess what? You think that we're not strong, but when we come in numbers, that's when you know where our strength is. So I think that this will make people think twice about picking on someone that don't look like you, because at the end of the day, it could always go a different way. But the fact that it didn't, and people were sensible about this, more so than trying to take lives, is to me is a victory above all else, because people could have had their lives taken, but they didn't. They just probably just woke up a little bit sore on Sunday and was like, "Damn, what just happened?" Damn. Like they probably was like, "What in the world?" So yes, they had to use some icy hot, some biofreeze. I'll be using the biofreeze, and I don't even be getting in, brawls like this. So I already know they were hurting. Can y'all imagine on a hard ass dock, slippery and sliding all over the place? You got folks swimming from one side of one dock to the other side. Like it was a lot going on. It was a lot going on. Nobody lost their life. So moving on. So there was another uh situation that I saw in social media, and it came by way of Instagram. I believe this is a new podcast. I believe it's called Law and oh god, it says it on here. I should know what it's called, but everyone wanted me to have this woman on my show, and I have not been able to get in contact with her. But if and when I do, we will have her on the show. Before then, we're going to talk about this clip that she's in on this show. And like I said, I believe it's called Law. Oh man, it's really not coming together right now in my head, but I will link it in the description, because they are upcoming podcasts. So I definitely, do want to support them. But they had a group of people on their show, and the conversation got a little interesting. We had three women on the panel, two guys, and one of the women she was a little extreme with some things that she was saying, and one clip went viral online. I took it upon myself to watch the whole show because I didn't want it to critique by just watching a 1 minute clip. So I went to go watch the whole show. And when I watched the show, she said this wasn't in the media. However, I did clip it and put it on my Instagram page. But I want to get you guys' opinion on this because I'm not quite sure if this happens every day. I'm not quite sure if this happens in marriages, but in this modern age dating world that we live in, this may happen more than we think. So I do want to show the clip and get you guys' opinion.
For me, sex is super important. Like that's the only thing that I'm not really getting in my marriage right now. So that's what I'm out here for. So when I think about
That's what she out here for.
I shouldn't say that's what I'm out here for, but I date.
For sex?
Yeah, I date and I get a long-term sex partner and then I move on.
So how long do it take you to have sex with this person?
It takes a long time. So
you build up.
I'm lucky if I have sex once a month.
You lucky?
Mm-hmm.
You want it? Do you want it that way?
I want to have sex every day.
So why don't you have sex every day then?
Because I don't like niggas.
So what happened?
I don't like niggas.
Sound like niggas.
So like,
I'm sorry.
I'm seeing somebody right now,
Yes.
and I'm beefing with them.
Okay.
I'm not finna just go vet somebody else real quick. Like it takes a while for me to know you, build a connection, to know that okay, this is cool. I can do.
All right. So what in the mixed messages? I'm gonna need y'all's opinion on this. Whoever wants to go first, be my guest.
I guess I'll go first.
Go ahead.
Nobody wants to man up today, I guess. where do I start? If you're in a relationship, I think Kent knows it from experience. You're not getting any. There's an issue. You need to sit down and have a conversation with your, excuse me, with your husband or wife. And like, if you're married, I expect that you get laid at least twice or 3 times a week on a minimum. But you're not getting it all, and you need a side piece. You got definitely issues there. If you keep moving on from one person to another, then that's not a healthy relationship, in my opinion.
Okay, so let me give a little bit of background because, like I said, I did watch the whole thing.
Okay.
So she is married. Her husband cheated on her, and so she created new terms for the relationship and said, "Hey, you cheated on me. You and I are no longer having sex. However, I am going to have sex with other people outside of the relationship since you want to have sex with other people outside of the relationship." She also stated that since the marriage has been working up until she found out about him cheating, that she's going to stay in the marriage. And as she said in this clip, the only thing that she's not getting in her marriage is sex. So her solve or resolve for that is to go out and get long-term sex partners. And my thing is, it's a mixed message when she says, well, I love sex. I want to have sex every night. Yet her and her husband still sleep in the same bed. That was said in the episode as well. Her and her husband still sleeps in the same bed. However, they don't have sex. So he could come home from doing what he doing with Shorty Doo-Wop. She could come home and doing what she doing with Mr. And they could both take showers and lay in the bed like nothing ever happened, wake up the next day and do it all over again. So that's a little background to how their relationship is going.
And grooming, let me just share this. It's not that we didn't want to man up. She already did all the manning up for us.
Yeah, dude,
You
this is
know,
a hot mess. This whole relationship is a hot mess. Let's be straight up here. If
man,
if okay,
Oh, can I add one more thing? Sorry.
go for it.
Please
She
do.
makes more than him, and she did state that if they got divorced, she would have to pay alimony.
Ooh, the plot is
again,
twisted.
she's manning up, and that's probably the problem.
Mhm.
And of course, she's sitting there. Oh, it's gonna be practical. It was just so much ignorance behind it. So much. Let me take away the word ignorance. It was so much hurt and pain behind all of this, and she's sitting there posturing as if she good with it. She ain't hurt, but the lady's hurt. She got hurt because her man deceived her, and she's now acting out against it, and she's retaliating, and she's doing a tit for tat. And because, to your point, she doesn't want to lose out on the investment that she made. She's just stating rules, and I did see part of it where she said, "This is what it's going to be like." She's dictating what it's going to be like, and that probably is why he wasn't sleeping with her in the first place, because she's sitting there dictating what she wants and how it's going to be, and this, that, and another. And again, she was manning up. That's all. So is that she's going to play the man. She's going to be the man. This is what happens, unfortunately, and we're seeing it happen time and time again, just with different faces and different actions.
But also, you also understand this too. It went from a marriage to a business agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Talking about money, like, oh, I divorced him. I got paid. This son of a bitch. No,
Yeah,
it's not even. I'm sorry, dude.
I said, yeah. In fairness, though, marriage is a sort of business agreement. So
It is.
let's
It
not
is.
overlook that. But the point is, if you're gonna be strictly about business, then let that be clear in the beginning. You know, and just whatever you vow is what I shared with everybody. Honor that. I don't care if you vow the business side of it, like the lady last week who was talking about, I'm not going to listen to and obey, and we're not going to be poor. It's not going to be rich or poor. She said that from the onset. So the man who was marrying her, if he got in the future and was like, well, she never, bro, she said it from day one. She vowed it from day one and she lived up to her vow. Now, are you going to live up to yours?
Yeah, you got a good
Mm.
point there. Like, I do think it's a messy situation either way you look at it. If you, let's say they try to fix the marriage, I think it's too late at this point, and she doesn't want to divorce him because she knows she's gonna have to pay an arm and a leg out. Either way you look at it, it's a messy situation.
I think it's funny the way that you talk when you're the one that loses out the most, right? To me, it's always hilarious the way that that person views something. Now, I watched the whole show, and what stood out to me about that one lady. Oh, Sean, mute your mic.
I mean,
No, man, I appreciate you popping up. Yeah, no, when she was talking, she was definitely an aggressive, in your face type of person, and I can almost tell you I've seen this before. I've seen it to where the lady being the way that she is dictating stuff, this guy's not getting the energy that he wants, and instead of just ending the marriage and walking away, he steps out. Now, I'm not trying to justify his actions, right? But then now he comes back into his home, she finds out, she's starting to dictate terms, and now y'all went from, the covenant was broken. Yeah, it was broken because this dude didn't just he decided to try to step out without his wife or whatever finding out. I'm not saying that that's what happened with that particular group or whatnot, but I've seen this time and time again, and that's how it turns out until eventually one person gets fed up and somebody finally files because they're tired and just want to move on without having things dictated to them.
But it can also
You talked
you're
again, you
muted.
muted
You're
yourself.
muted.
There you go. My bad. But let's ask a question here. Why did he come to terms or make a decision to actually cheat? Was it something going on before, or he just been a scumbag? Which one is it?
I mean, it could be that the guy was just a scumbag, but like I said, not trying to justify, not saying that this is what theirs was, but I've seen it to where she's just somebody unbearable, and then somebody shows him a little bit of attention or whatnot, and he decides to slide in between the sheets, and then now the covenant's broken. But I asked the question, who broke it first? Her being an unbearable ass pain, or him sliding into the cheeks of somebody else?
It could be both too at the same time.
No, there's
You don't
always a
think so?
catalyst. No, there's
See,
always a
this is
catalyst.
where I'm going to disagree. There are three sides of the story: hers, his, and the truth. So we don't know what the truth is.
Yeah, and in that truth, there is always a catalyst that jumpstarts something. If two people are together and person A is an unbearable ass pain, me as person B and that person's husband is not going to want to jump into the sheets of that person when they're being an ass pain time and time again. Hell no.
Do you think it could be a case of because people get married for many different reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, she she makes majority of the money. And so could it be a case where he kind of knew her attitude and her makeup, but he still married her
Mm-hmm.
anyway?
Yep.
Because usually women who make more money or are high earners have this you can't tell me nothing attitude. Now, on top of her being a high earner, married to a man that's not making as much as she's making, and he cheats on her, she could feel as though she shouldn't have married this man. And so now that you have betrayed me, or now that you have hurt me, I'm going to hurt because honestly, to me, sleeping with another man is the ultimate, hurt for a man. Just giving away what's his to another person is the ultimate slap in your face. So for her to pretty much make up a new contract because that's what it seems like she's doing. They already have a marriage contract. She probably feels as though after he cheated, he created a new contract. came to the table with that. Now she's creating another contract and coming to the table with that, and it's like who it it's almost like an unspoken she accepted the contract that he gave, which was cheating on her, and now she is verbally out loud saying, hey, you wanted to do this, well, we're no longer having sex, and this is now the new contract. Now, like Grooming and Reviews is saying, there's a couple sides to the story here, right? So we only hear her side. That's why I want her to come on the show. I mean, I don't want to bust her marriage wide open, but she done already did that. So now we have questions. Okay, we preguntas. We have questions that we would like answered. So it's like, did he agree to this? And then it's like, she's not walking away because she makes most of the money. He's not walking away because if he did, he would lose a lot of money. Or he actually would gain. Actually, in his case, he would gain. But she's not going to allow that to happen. So what do you do when you want to leave a situation, but it's not really in your favor to do so? Because they always say men don't leave. Well, in this situation, she's not leaving. She's not going to leave. She's just gonna sleep with other men and come home and still sleep in a bed with this man,
Yep.
but not have sex with him.
Rodney said the question that I always bring up
Dang.
is, why do people do everything but leave? Leave.
Because they didn't count the cost in the beginning, and now they can't afford the price of leaving. See, that's why you have to count the cost of being with people. Because if he knew that she made majority of the money and she knew that he wasn't a high earner, see, a lot of women want to play like they want to be in this masculine role, and I make the money, but they don't. They really don't want to be there. It's an act. It's a front. They really don't want to make the most money. They really don't want to do the most. But it's a front. It's an act. It's a wall. It's a barrier, because as a woman, you're not even built like that. You're not built like that. You're not built like that. Yet women put on these fronts every day trying to be big and bad, and I'm gonna beat my chest like I'm a man. You're not built like that. So what you're doing is you're only hurting yourself in the end as a woman. Because not only are you going and hurt and broken, but you're having other men sleep with you, and they're going to get that hurt and broken spirit from you too. Sex is very spiritual. So if you doing this out of spite because your husband cheated and you don't want to talk to him and you don't want to work it out and you don't want to see why he cheated, or you don't want to, be the wife that made the vows that you would be, now you want to take things into your own hand. These people that you're sleeping with, these long-term sex partners, like she said, she's beefing with one of them, right? She said that in the video. Oh, I have one, but I'm beefing with him now. She's going to forever be beefing with whoever she's sleeping with. Whoever she's sleeping with is going to take on the spirit of her, and she's going to take on the spirit of him. It's non-avoidable. You can't avoid that.
Yeah,
So the detriment to her marriage and these people that she's sleeping with.
well, I think one of the problems, she needs to look in the mirror, because if all these people having issues with her, there's something going on with her. You know what I'm saying? Her husband felt like it was an issue enough that he needed to step out and go and get some stray ass. You know what I'm saying? Now she's beefing with her new booty call. That's a problem. Yeah, well, man, when are you going to start looking in the mirror and say, hey, what is it about me that these people want to have issues with me? Don't want to, feel comfortable enough to go and step out on me? Well, what am I doing? What type of energy am I putting out that they feel comfortable enough or reason enough they need to go do this? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong, or what am I not doing right? So I mean, that'd be a question I would like to ask her. Like, have you ever thought about doing a self-evaluation of yourself? What is it about me?
I personally think that she's double-minded, and she she talks double, because in one part of the interview, she's like, I don't like marriage. Marriage is stupid, but you're married. It's like, what? When did you take on this ideology? You know, she talked about who was it? DMX passing away and his long-term girlfriend not being able to benefit from anything that he had. And it's like, you're talking about somebody that's not married, yet you're married. So when did you come to the place in your um marriage where now you feel like marriage is stupid?
You know that old adage, um, listen to people because they'll tell you exactly who they are. Well, she said very clearly, I don't like niggas.
Hmm.
That said a lot to me in itself.
You think she's sleeping with women?
That showed the pain. I mean, she might as well,
Mm.
because that showed the pain, the hurt, the tolerance level, all everything that she's about to me was mentioned in that statement. I don't like niggas.
I think she just hurt. I think y'all already know my saying, only Jesus saves. Okay. And when I say that, I mean that, there are times where people can't change their mind about things. There are times where people can't change their ideologies and how they view things. And there's nothing that someone is going to say. Well, there's nothing that we can say to her unless she is willing, and honestly, there's nothing that I can say to her. I'm not married, so there's nothing that I can say. I can only offer an opinion, right? But let's just say a married couple of 30, 40 years comes up to her and goes, hey, look, we've been where you are. My husband stepped out. It was the worst thing that happened to me, but I got through it. I got counseling. I went to go talk to the lady. I done did X, Y, and Z. If she is not open enough, if her heart is not open, if she's not past the hurt and the pain, she's going to continue to do what she's doing. So that person that God sent to save her, or that God sent to talk some sense into her, and she's not taking that advice, that's what I mean when I say only Jesus saves. Because there's nothing that a lot of people are going to tell somebody when they're in the midst of their hurt and pain. They're not going to hear it. They have to come to a time and a place and a season in their life where they are done being hurt. So at this point, she's not hurt enough. I think that women a lot of times like to play with fire. It's like, oh, I'll just do this and I'll be all right. Oh, I'll just take it a little step further next time and I'll still be all right. But at some point, you're gonna get burned by the fire, because the way that you're handling it is not the healthy way to handle it. You're fighting toxicity with toxicity. It's like you don't want your marriage to be healed. You don't want it to be in a better place. You're settling for what's less than best for you, and because your husband stepped out, you're looking at it as, oh, he hurt me, he betrayed me, he did whatever. But you're in there in that marriage together. So what is it that he's going through? What is it that he's going through? And if he's not going through anything and he just decide to, pick a flavor of the week, then we need to figure out, is that something that you've been wanting to do? Like, you need to have a conversation about that. But being silent and letting the chips fall where they may is, I don't believe that's how you solve an issue in a marriage. I just don't think that that's how you solve it. But
Well, you know my pushback always to only Jesus saves. It's because guess what? Jesus himself could have went up to that girl, and she probably still would have missed the message because she's that hurt.
right. Her mindset. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so maybe you're not understanding. Only Jesus can give you the mind to want, or the decision to change your mind. So I know you're saying, well, Jesus could have went up to her himself and she still wouldn't have. But I don't think anyone hurt, when you're hurt enough, when you get to a place where you're hurt enough, that's where you change your mind. And that's kind of where God wants you to be. Like he wants you to get to a place where it's just like, maybe I should change my mind about some things because I'm not my best self. He don't want you, down, hurting and in dismay. But if that's what it takes for you to then change your ways, he okay with that. He good with that. Some agitation I feel like do come from God because God is like, all right, you messed up. You keep messing up. I'm not gonna make this comfortable for you. You're gonna keep being in this place. You're gonna keep being tired. You're gonna keep sleeping with these people that don't care nothing about you, that just want your coochie. Like he sometimes I believe that God keeps us in certain places because we're hard-headed. And then when we stop being hard-headed, it's like, oh, thank God I got out of that. I feel so much better. And I like only God can do that because we're stubborn people. But he's a gentleman. He's not going to make and force you to change your mind about some things. We have to do that as people. And she looked like she has gotten to a place where she's not changing her mind about her husband. She's making a decision to not sleep with her husband because he hurt her. But it's like, do we as people, you're not showing the love of God towards your husband because he hurt you. I said before when I used to do my podcast that when you love somebody, you give them the permission to hurt you. You don't want them to hurt you, but you do give them that permission because you've given them that access to your life. Now, when they hurt you, how are you going to respond? And I think she reacted instead of responded to her husband. But that comes with time, it comes with growth, and that comes with healing. If you haven't done any of those things, you're not going to respond in a healthy way, but you are going to react in a toxic way. And I feel like that's what's happening with her.
I agree. It's an unfortunate reality that we deal with regularly.
Yeah, and I wonder how many people have settled for this level of marriage. I wonder how many people are settling for being with someone and sleeping in the bed with them every night, but you can't have this closeness with someone that you say that you're married to. I'm sorry, I couldn't come home and sleep in the bed with you and not be intimate with you and I call you my husband. That just we would just have to
make no sense.
Let it go. Looks like another love TKO. Like I just like if we're not if we're not making this thing work, it's just then we gonna have to be out because as a human being, that physical nature in a marriage has to be there. And one part of the interview she talked about marriage or sex being very important, and then another part of the interview she talked about how people put sex at a high level thing in their relationship, and it's like, well, which one do you want? Do you talk about sex being something that's very important for you, yet you're seeking it outside of your marriage, and that's dangerous. That's so dangerous. So
I'm just so disappointed that women like her get a stage and a platform to speak about it without somebody who would challenge them or at least try to bring some type of identity to that hurt. Because I saw it, we continue to regurgitate it, and guess what, all of the hurt women start trauma bonding with this mentality, and then you find that they just have now different options on how to retaliate. That's what these things to me start becoming, just different ideas on how to play tit for tat and which one is going to be better, sneakier, more hurtful, even out the score, and it goes on.
Well, I'm going to agree on that too. I'm not the person that I know you're enjoying someone else's lollipop. I'm going to be sleeping next to you. Not happening. I'll be sleeping on my couch every night till we actually solve this problem. I'm not going to have you going with other men. That's not even an option. If that's the case, see ya.
No, you are not sleeping in no damn couch. You sleeping in your bed, and tell that heifer she can go sleep on the couch or the floor or wherever. No.
Oh, I've done it a million times. See that couch behind me, dude? That thing is comfortable. It's better than my bed sometimes.
then you need to
Yeah,
upgrade
but
your
you
bed.
can't get comfortable doing that as the man.
Ah,
And
No, I shouldn't have to do that. I just got pissed off where, I said, you know what, screw this, I'm going on the couch.
damn, God,
What's up?
that's a defeated mindset, brother.
Yep. Not
God,
doing it. Not doing it.
But
hey, I
no,
did
don't get
one.
me wrong.
I
Don't get me
made
wrong.
that
Now
mistake.
that I'm older, I wouldn't do that.
I
You're
made that
going.
mistake.
Hey, I did one time, and I said never again. I come up,
Yep.
my back sore as hell. I'm not doing this shit no more. We're gonna sleep in this bed angry than a motherfucker.
Never again.
And to be honest with you, to that point, that's not a resolution, and that's really what it boils down to. You need resolutions in these circumstances, and that's just not one. That shouldn't be an option. That shouldn't even be a thought, because you know that old adage again: don't go to sleep angry with one another. You need to really try and practice that and understand the value of that. Even if you are at a disagreement, going to bed angry and holding in that resentment and being stubborn, it's not, it just adds the fuel to the fire that you already have burning.
See, I always thought it was better to sleep off it and say something stupid. But now I'm older. Like, let's finish it before we go to bed, I guess.
Yeah, some things can't be resolved in one night, though, Deshaun. That's the only thing about it. Some things just can't. I mean, sometimes you got to disagree. You have to agree to disagree, and you can still be mad even if you agree to disagree because of that. But and then you'll come back the next day like, hey, it's not really worth continue to hold these grudges and continue to be mad. Let's try to have the conversation. You know what I'm saying? But one thing you always got to let cooler heads prevail. You trying to make somebody talk and they just not in the mood to talk. Nothing's gonna be resolved because one person's gonna feel like they got it theirs off, but the other person feel like, hey, I didn't feel like I was heard. So I'm gonna be sit back and listening, and then I'm gonna hear all your gripes and your feelings and all that. But then it's I know if I say something, it may not come out the way I want it to. It may not come in a way that's gonna be fruitful to the relationship or the situation. So maybe I need to take a night to like my man said, sleep it off or cool off and table it. But definitely make sure I come back and definitely have the conversation for sure. So
I agree with you there. I agree that it might not get resolved that evening, but nonetheless, what I was referring to is just sleeping in another bed and all that. Um, that just adds fuel to the fire. You could sleep in the same bed and sleep on your opposite sides, as you have done probably on many occasions. I don't know. I'm just a bachelor, so I have no idea what to do anymore.
I think these conversations are important to have before you have issues. If you set a rule that we're not going to go to bed angry, then what are we going to do when we get angry? Because we got to sleep.
But in
We gotta
fairness,
go sleep.
Precious, the rule has been broken. Usually, so setting rules might, what I mean? The rule of fidelity has been broken at that point. So if we go ahead and try and now honor rules, that would be one of the first things somebody throw in your face. Oh, now you want to go by the said rules. What happened to our rules of marriage? What happened to our rules of engagement? There is no answer to it. I guess it's case by case, but the point that you're making is having rules is a very good point. I agree with you. Unfortunately, what I was pushing back on is that people don't really honor what they say, and that's what it boils down to.
Well, that's the thing. If someone is not going to honor what they say, then you have to stand on something where you're making it known that you can't just get away with this. You can't just, not honor what you say and get away with it. I think we've gotten to a point in society that a lot of people are not honoring what they're saying and people are just okay with it. You have to put your foot down and say, that you're not okay with something like that. And, you know, that of course starts with going to therapy or again having, the conversations. But if you can't do any of that, then you have to put your foot down and leave. Because the longer you stay in a relationship where you're not really comfortable or at liberty to communicate and get those feelings, out there, and those, sentiments and whatever is going through your mind. If you're not able to do that with a person that you're married, why did you marry them? If you're not able to talk to the person that you married, why did you marry them? I'm tired of people marrying folks for money. I'm tired of people marrying people for status. At the end of the day, why are you leaving your singlehood? Are you leaving your singlehood to be in a better financial situation? Are you leaving your singlehood to be in a situation where you want to love and cherish someone for the rest of your life and their life? Are you leaving your singlehood? Like, why leave singlehood? Because the Bible says this: if you can marry, marry. If you can't, don't. Right? It says it in there. It's very clear. And people always say, well, the Bible says obey and da 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 da. But it also says if you can do it, do it. If you can't, don't, because it brings on its own sets of issues. So if you're not willing to have the mindset of, all right, when I join with someone, and the devil hates family. So you should already know in the back of your mind, or, you're not going to know if you're not trained and if you don't read and if you don't, study to show yourself approved, but you should already know that you're going to get attacked. Your relationship is going to get attacked. Period. So when things happen in it that you cause, then that should be the easiest thing that you're actually trying to fix. You can't control what you can't control, right? But you can control what you can control. So if you're doing something in a marriage and you are offsetting it or off-putting it, or doing something that is against the vows, then you two should come together, because you already know that when you came together in the first place, there are going to be tribulations, there are going to be trials, there are going to be people trying to attack you from the outside. That should be a mindset that you already have in place going into marriage. And it's not to say that you're going to have a bad marriage. It's not to say that you're not going to get along or anything like that. It's just saying that, thinking about this in a mature way, I know that when I was single, really didn't have any issues. Could come and go as I please, could do what I want. But when I get with someone, it's not going to be like that. And so, because I can't do what I want, because I can't come and go as I please, how are we going to work this thing out? What pleases you? What pleases me? What don't you like? What don't I like? How are we going to resolve arguments when we get there? You may have a person that's not even, that they don't even like to argue. So now you don't want stuck with all your feelings because they bottled up. You don't know who to talk to. You don't want to argue with him because he's not an arguer, right? So this is where you say, okay, I need I need a tool in my toolbox to help me, to assist me, to aid me for when my husband don't want to argue. I need to go talk to my therapist because I shouldn't be unloading on him. I don't need to be going to my best friend because she don't have my best interest at heart. My parents shouldn't be in my marriage. So I need to talk to a third party for when I can't control my emotions, because I shouldn't be offloading on a man who doesn't want or who does not like to argue. If he does not like it, I will not do it. But women have this, I'm gonna do what I want. I'm gonna say what I want. And I'm gonna just and he just gonna have to accept it. And it's like, no, he doesn't have to accept it. I say all the time, men don't have to accept anything. Women don't have to accept anything. But we're also the ones that need protection. So don't you think that we would, have some tools in our tool belt for when we are being a woman, when woman is womaning, when our emotions are running wild. Like we as women should know that, and we should carry ourselves in that manner. But when you don't, then you're going to go haywire. You're going to make bad decisions. You're going to get too emotional. You're going to get very irrational. So I think that her mindset, when you don't have the right mindset, and when you don't know where the attacks are coming from, right? In sports, you got to know your defender. You watch the tapes. You watch them play other people to see what they do, to see who's good at what. But when people get in marriage, it's just like, oh well, I don't know. Take it a day at a time. If the attacks come, they come. If the weapons form, they might prosper. I don't know. Like, you got to be prepared for stuff like that.
That's funny. I'm not tired of people getting married for money. I'm not tired of people getting married for sex. I'm tired of people not revealing it when they get married.
So you should be tired of them doing it since they won't reveal
No,
it.
because if you're getting married for sex, or as if you reveal that, you can have a successful relationship if that's agreed to. But when you don't reveal it and you're getting married for money, but you say it's for love, that becomes the discrepancy. Or if you get married for sex, but you say it's for for love, or the companionship, that's where the deception comes in. So I'm not tired of them getting married for those reasons. I'm tired of them not exposing those reasons before they get married.
I want for you. I hate when people say they're selling because that's the only best option they have on the table. Why? It's not your best option. You can get what you were looking for. You just have to look for it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Hank, go ahead. I saw you. Go ahead. Oh, okay. I heard you. I tell you what. It ain't as easy as you making it. At least not at my pool. I haven't seen it. I run into this often. I run into the kumbaya. I want to do I want to submit. I don't mind being a good wife. I am a good wife, and it sounds great up until you they get the opportunity to exercise it. I hear a lot of people say, a lot of women specifically say, I don't mind submitting and listening to my husband. And these are women that I know as friends. And the first thing that happens when their husband is telling them something to do, they're like, I don't like the way he told me that. And I'm like, yo, what happened to that spirit of I'm a wife? What happened to that spirit of I don't mind submitting to my husband? It sounds great initially, but exercising it. Oh, wait, here it is. If your heart and your mouth don't agree, then that is not a true confession. Their heart and their minds are not agreeing. Often is what I'm running into. Their mouth is saying it. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, but their heart is not meaning it. And luckily I don't get intimate before I expose it with those who I am interested in. And unfortunately, a lot of my friends who are in relationships, it gets exposed and then they try and deny it. And I'm like, yo, that's a big issue.
I think me and you, Sean, are in the same boat that people, or women, should I say, will use your kindness for weakness very easily. They will go after like piranhas.
That definitely does happen. That definitely does happen. Um, and like Sean was saying, it's not lining up. The words, the hearts, the actions, the heart posture. You really have to know someone's heart posture, and that takes time spent with them, right? It takes time spent with someone, and I think a lot of people don't necessarily look at people's heart posture. They look at their pockets, they look at what they can benefit from the relationship, but looking at someone's heart posture is going to tell you if they're in the position to care for you or not, if they're in the position that's going to, love you. And I believe that from the heart, the mouth does speak. So, like Sean was saying with this woman, when she said, "Oh, I don't even like niggas," it's like, why did you get married, are you so hurt to the point where now you're numb? Because I think that people can get to that place too, where they're so hurt that now they're numb and they don't know how to heal. They don't know where to begin. They don't know who to talk to. And so they're just taking matters into their own hands. But again, I think that she's doing herself a huge disjustice by trying to take matters into her own hands and handling it herself when it's two people in the marriage. Hello, Sean at the dating game. How are you?
Good, good. Finally got my camera working. Had some technical difficulties, but I'm in here. Been listening to the whole thing, so I'm pretty much caught up.
Good, good, good. Glad you're doing better with the technology. So, what would you like to add to the conversation? We're on to the woman who is having long-term sex partners while she's married because her and her husband don't have sex.
I mean, I'm with you on. I'd like to hear all sides of the story from both parties, but
Mhm,
to me, it seems very telling that she doesn't want a divorce. She doesn't want to leave. To me, that points to follow the money, because
mhm,
a lot of times women will leave because they're unhappy. A lot of times women will leave because they're not as excited. Things aren't as exciting as they used to be. But it seems very suspect to me that she doesn't want to end the marriage, and she's the breadwinner in the relationship. So
mhm,
to me, that's what it points to. She doesn't want to leave because he's going to get half or maybe more, or alimony, whatever it is. She doesn't want to pay out. So she'd rather be inconvenienced by still staying married to him, but still trying to have her get her back scratched, basically.
mhm.
So that's
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with it.
I see the same thing. I definitely agree.
Wow, that
But
brought up a good point. I mean, she likes being in control of things, and that in itself says a lot. That controlling nature, whoo, that right there is like the second enemy versus the first, which is time against women.
Hmm.
Time is women's enemy, and control is their enemy as well. And they take time for granted often. I've been speaking to, I hear this often with a lot of my people. I could just wait. It'll just take some time. And I'm like, where do you think that all of this time is coming from? Why do you feel like you're just going to have time? Help me understand that. And I'm not even just talking about the biological clock, which is often referred to. I'm talking about just in general. Oh, it could wait. I wasted my time. I'm like, yo, there is no such thing as wasting your time. It's well invested. And what are you waiting on? That this is going to happen. What are you waiting for? I don't understand it, but that's just me.
well, the name of the show is The Delusion is Real. And I believe the delusion is real with this woman that is saying that she's going to have long-term sex partners while she's married. Again, women like playing with fire. The time invested that you have in beefing with someone that is not your husband, who is not in your household, who is not the father of your daughter because she has a child, or they have children or a child, to invest in that time seems foolish to me when you have a whole household to be a part of. You have a whole when a woman's aura is off in the home or in the house, the home is off because I believe that women make houses home. That's another thing. I don't think a lot of women know how to make a house a home. And so now you really don't know your place. You're not really falling in place because you don't know how to make a house a home. You know how to move into a house, but you don't know how to make it a home. And I think that that's the issue that we have in our new age society, and why people aren't rushing to be in relationships because they probably never seen it and they don't know how to make that house a home. After we say we go together, what now? What do we do now? And a lot of people don't know what to do now. They know how to make up and break up and make up and break up, but they don't know how to make the house a home, and that's a problem. Where is the link? I'm going to drop the link again because I don't think I pinned it the first time, so my apologies. But we're going to move on to the next topic because as we're talking about, Sean brung up control and time. Sean Bolden brought that up. And so in this clip, this guy unloads the clip on her after she's finished talking, but we're gonna put up on the screen. I'm gonna get you guys' thoughts on it.
Women that make their own money, because then you can't control women. You guys don't want to be providers or protectors. You guys want to be controlling and manipulating.
Quite frankly, I think that was a delusional statement, because there is not a man in this world that goes to work and leaves out at 5 o'clock in the morning with whatever he does to go and pick up trash cans for $22 an hour for 16 hours a day to come home with his paycheck to say, I'm going to control this. There is not a man, there is not a soldier that goes and gets deployed to Iraq to get shot at and IED'd and bombed for 15 months out of the time to risk his life for his country just so he can come back home and control this. Men have standards, and we've woken up to the bull. Okay. The fact of the matter is, I don't want you to be a hoe. Okay. If you want me to protect and provide, because quite frankly, you would not even give me, you wouldn't even look my way if I couldn't, I should be able to have some standards of you. So if that means that you ain't popping pussy and popping and stripping and showing your titties to everybody in the world, I should not be wrong for not wanting you to be a hoe. You feel what I'm saying? And I'm not controlling you. I have standards for you. Now, when you tell me that, hey, I would not date a nigga that worked at McDonald's making minimum wage because he can't show me nothing or can't be nothing for me, I respect it. That's your standard. But here I come and say, hey, I would not want a woman that is going to broadcast her body that I have worked extremely hard for to have access to the freaking world. I'm wrong then. So you can have standards, but I can't. So it's cool when you do it, but it's a problem when I do it.
All right. So what do you guys think about that clip? I think we just perfectly segued into it, talking about the control. What do you guys think about that? King, I see you giving a round of applause. Or you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm mute. He said it. I didn't know where that clip was going, but standards. That seems to be the one thing as well. And oh man, so like for example, you know what? I ain't even gonna go there. Let me shut up. I have too much thoughts going on right now. I need to get it cleaned up a bit. Please go to somebody else. I'm just I am happy that guy said that.
All right, who wants to go next?
All right, I guess I go first. He's right. A lot of things are like girls, women, girls, kids, whatever you want to call them, love striking their shit. But when it comes down to kind of mate to pick, they're very picky. But when we say no, you cannot, go out those short shorts because your coochie's showing all over the goddamn fucking neighborhood, they get all pissy. And when you have two jobs, one is just a regular job, then you get a second job working at McDonald's, they get a little offended, like, oh, I'm not gonna be with you because you have a low paying job. Why? A job is a job. As long as it pays the bills, we have a roof over our head, food on the table, and health. That's what matters. But people forget that. They care about what can you get me? The BBD, bigger, better deal, like I always say.
Okay. Welcome Carlos Harris to the stage. How are you?
I'm all right, Precious. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Did you want to add to this conversation?
This is not my first time on your platform. This is just my Christian name. I'm Mandrill. But no, I was in the gym and I was listening to you while I was doing my workout, so I'm just leaving. Anyway,
I know it's you. I know you. I was being funny. I know it's you.
My bad. Yeah, the guy's absolutely right. And so is pretty much everyone on the panel.
Nindro,
yes?
I'm gonna have to get Kendra G on you. I need you to get into a centralized area. We're hearing wind
and everything because I'm leaving the building.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we can't really hear what you're saying. And
all right.
It's messing up.
All right, so this is better, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the guy in the video is absolutely right. I mean, there's standards. Nobody wants to be with the village bicycle. You know what I'm saying? If everybody in the neighborhood has shot DNA up in you, why would I want that? But and at the same time, you want me to have resources and everything like that, but you don't want to give me what I want. It just boils down to what I say all the time. People don't know how to be in relationships. Sean was talking about submission earlier, and he's absolutely right about that. When it comes to submission, women will say they'll submit and all that stuff, but when it comes to practical application, they'll submit until it's something that they don't want to do.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And all of this rolls into one. People don't know how to be in relationships. That's the long and short of it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're just speaking on,
Sean,
yeah,
go
if
ahead.
we're speaking on this clip, then I do want to say something. To me, it seems like the modern day woman likes to be able to waffle on anything and everything that she wants to. And people don't understand what the word waffle means. The term waffle means. It just means kind of kind of teeter totter. You know, they can be over here one moment, be over here the next. They don't want to really stand their ground on any real thing because they don't get boxed in. It's very apparent. And it seems like with this woman in this clip, where she's talking about what was she saying? She wants to step out. I forget. I'm drawing a blank already.
Here, I'll play it one more time for you guys. It's okay.
Thank you.
Y'all don't really want women that make their own money because then you can't control women. You guys don't want to be providers or protectors. You guys want to be controlling and manipulating.
Quite frankly, I think that was a delusional statement because there is not a man in this world that goes to work and leaves out at 5 o'clock in the morning with whatever he does to go and pick up trash cans for $22 an hour.
I'm just going to stop it there because we heard his point. So, she's pretty much saying that men don't want women who make their own money because then they want to be controlling because they want to be controlling.
Yeah, so many women have drank the Kool-Aid basically, and let's just say the Kool-Aid is the eminism, and just add a F on the beginning of that. Because like as he said, a lot of men, we're not out here thinking like, who can I control, or waking up in the morning time like, I'm gonna control him today. That's how I'm gonna get my rocks off.
Right.
It's not even about that. There are so many men out there that just want to have a cool, calm, relaxed life. And as I brought up to you before, the 4 S's, sleep, sex, silence, sandwich. That's what the majority of men want. If you want keep your man happy, you want to know what's on his mind, it's typically one of the 4 S's or a combination of the 4 S's. So like I said, there's no one out here wanting to control women. I don't know where they're getting that from, but I think it's because, like I said, they were sold an ideal that men were in control, and as it stands, it's the truth that men did build the world, that they are able to live an easy life, because a lot of these women that have the proclivities to complain about how life is here, none of them willing to move to a second and third world country, and the moment they move to a second and third world country, they're going to find out just how good they have it here, and just how well the men that still want them are willing to treat them, because as we know, we got the passport bros that are like, you know what, I'm just not going to put up with it anymore. I'm going to go somewhere else, go to somewhere where I'm wanted, somewhere where I am respected, because that's big. It's respect. A man wants respect. And a lot of women, they're not willing to give that man respect because they're watching too much TV, they're watching Kardashians, the Instagram, the TikToks, and they're being fed all this misinformation, and they're just, taking it like a football, catching it and running with it, running to the end zone. But little do they know, there's no one there watching that game except for their girls, and they're just going to perpetually stay single and unhappy, and die alone with their cats and their dogs. Not all of them, some.
All right, we had one Sean say his
All
piece.
right, Sean. I actually agree with you, but you asked the question. You don't know where they get it from. They get it from when they asked to do something that they don't want to do. That's when they come up with all of these men don't do, and men want to control, because men are challenging you to do something that you don't want to do, and you want to itemize it and categorize it as control. But what really is control is your unruly uncontrol that you have, which is being wild. And so a man is sitting there checking you on that, and you don't like it. So that's where they come up with this control saying, or this control concept. It's because they want to be unruly and not have to answer to anyone. I often ask a lot of my women friends, who do you listen to other than yourself? Who do you listen to that has a higher authority other than you? And your answer can't be the Lord. Is there anybody who you listen to other than you outside of what you're going to go to? The God. I answer to God. Who do you answer to other than yourself? Because guess what? A lot of us men, we will answer to our women when they ask us questions. We might, and I'm not saying we're obeying, because I'm not asking them to obey, but I ask you, who challenges you to not do whatever you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, like it was done when you had parents, or like it was done when you had or when you have a job? Who do you answer to other than yourself?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
That women need to ask themselves. You know, who do you answer to other
Yeah.
than God?
And the thing is, I would like to just add in, like, why are women so opposed to being wrong? Like, they will fight tooth and nail to not be proved wrong, or even to give in and say that they are wrong. It is like the end of the world. It's their kryptonite. Like, what's so wrong? I think most men they'd be like, all right, you got me. I was wrong, and then move on from it. But woman, she will never submit to being wrong. That's just my thoughts on that.
It must be the name, because I had that conversation yesterday with.
It's because they're in competition with you.
There you go. Go ahead, man. Drop. I hear you.
It's because they're in competition with you, and if they admit that they're wrong, that means that you're better than them in some shape, form, or fashion. And it's because, and the reason why she feels that way is because she's moving in fear, like most women do in the Western world. To some degree, they all move in fear, just about. They're afraid. They don't want to concede control because they're afraid that if anything goes wrong, they end up in divorce. She doesn't want to be left with nothing and destitute. So they always tend to either tiptoe into marriage or go in sleep with one eye open, as opposed to just closing their eyes and taking a whole leap of faith, which is what typically the men who get married do. So there you have it. They're afraid. They're afraid of all the ghost stories that their grandmothers and their great-grandmothers told them. Go to college, get a job so you don't have to depend on a man. Never depend on a man. Have your own. Even if you get married, have your own 6 secret bank accounts and stash that money away so he can't get to it, and never let him know about it. Well, if you take what they don't tell them is that if you go into a marriage with that attitude, your marriage is doomed to fail before it even starts. You can't half-ass it. You can't sometime it. You can't one at a time it. Marriage is all or nothing. All of me and all of you. That makes one. If there's a piece of you if there's a piece of you left out, we can't unite because I don't have all the pieces here, and I can't lead a partial person or a partial party.
Yeah, and here's the thing: men know this nowadays, and that's why men are, if they are wanting to get married, they're saying, "I need a prenup," because we know, like I said, once again, women like to waffle. They don't want to really sit in one place. They don't have the option of moving left, moving right, moving center. So guys, like, you know what? I got to protect myself, because most men, when they get married, they're like, "All right, this is it. Rest of my life. I've chosen you. I seeked you. I seeked you out. Yeah, that's right. I seeked you out. I I courted you. I did all the things that it takes to get you. I don't want to go through that whole race again." But we know, cause like as Carlos was saying, that these women, they were brought by their mothers and their grandmothers to say, squirrel away some cash. Don't tell him about it. And it probably isn't going to work out for whatever reason. He's going to cheat on you, putting all these ideas in their head. But as we look at the divorce rates, as we all know, the divorce rates, it's mostly women that are exiting the marriage for whatever reason, but it's 75 to 80% of marriages or divorces are being filed by the women, not the men.
Here's a question that I have that I'm curious about. When did it become taboo for men to have standards? Like, it seems like it's been taboo. Like, let a lady list her standards, and it's like, yes, queen, have your standards, right? Let a guy turn around and give his standards, and it's like, well, who do you think you are? And it doesn't matter what the guy does or what he looks like. There's a small percentage of men that can get away with having standards or whatnot. and it not be criticized, but the average guy can list his standards and it will immediately get picked apart. Whereas let the average lady list her standards and nobody questions it whatsoever, no matter how delusional it gets. When did we get here? What was the catalyst for that?
Wow, King.
When y'all men started to sit down to pee, started to sit down to pee, and that's when it started. When you accepted that bullshit, when it started, you got to stand up, man. We wasn't made to sit down to pee. Once you started doing that, that's when they got the upper hand. So with me, I'm not gonna get no prenup. I don't believe in it. But I'm also about one pot. I'm gonna talk about it Wednesday on my show. So if y'all want to tune in, definitely check it out. But yeah, what this woman was talking about, I don't. She just talking. Let that right man come into life. She gonna acquiesce to him.
Mm-hmm.
She gonna bow down because she gonna realize how she's running out of options. Men need to start flexing the options and act like it. If the woman you trying to court or engage with, if she's not part of get ready to get on your standard, then move on to the next. The numbers are in our favor. If that means you got to take a step down, maybe in looks, then do it. If she's not a what you consider 8 or 9, then take you a 7 or 6. But yes, she's gonna be respectful. She's gonna be submissive. She's not gonna be argumentative. She's gonna know how to cook. She's gonna be understanding. She's gonna be nurturing. She's gonna allow you to be vulnerable. Then give me the 6 every goddamn time. Y'all can keep them 8 and 9s, them shallow ass heifers if you want to. You can have them. And y'all deal with them headaches.
Amen.
And I'll keep seeing your ass up on these goddamn channels complaining about these crazy ass heifers. I'm gonna laugh at you, say, hey, motherfucker, why didn't your ass listen to me when I told your ass on September the 7th, 2023? Why didn't you listen to me then when I shared that message with you? No, you didn't want to listen because you wanted that big old ass and big old titties. I understand. Enjoy yourself for the time being. When that heifer start getting on your goddamn nerve, when she get on you and she start bucking and putting that money up under her mattress, waiting for like you said, that rainy day fund. Oh shit. Say, hey dog, you let it happen because you sat down to piss.
Well, a lot of women won't listen for the simple fact of they don't believe in prophecy. And you saying that they should listen, or men don't listen either, because you saying that they should listen on September 7th, and it hasn't yet come to pass. You muted.
I'm talking to men to help with them heifers. They gonna fall in line if you find the right one. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to you, hard ankle.
Well, what I'm saying is that they don't believe in prophecy either.
I don't care if they don't. Then move on.
I'm just messing with you.
Don't deal with her.
Hey, you said September 7th and it's August 7th.
Well,
So I was just messing with that.
You know what I meant. You know what I meant, funny guy. Don't act silly.
No, but I am acting silly, but I want to go to a point that's serious to what you're making. And I was looking at your show, panel you was on the other day, and that's what I was messing with you about earlier, as far as the fight with the gentleman. I don't know, his name is Taru or something like that. And he was sitting in that position of defending all of this, defending a lot of the actions and attitudes and circumstances that are going on right now. And I think that lends to what we're speaking about right now in answering the question, why standards are not something that are being entertained, because quite frankly, standards come with responsibility of having to live up to them. And they just want it easy. The nature is the easiest route. That seems to be the woman's nature in this day and age. Find the easiest route possible to get to a destination, which when it comes to certain circumstances, that might apply. But when it comes to relationships, the easiest route is often the well-traveled route, and it's often the most failed route. because they're not putting in any effort, any time, any energy into having success. So to answer your question, King, the reason why we are having such a hard times with standards nowadays is because we are having so hard times with challenges. We are having hard times with struggle. We are having hard times with living up to responsibility. And unfortunately, that's where we are. And I wish that the only thing that they seem responsible for is to make money. That's all they're responsible to. I need to make money, the bag, money, money, money. And with money is definitely a beneficial part of our existence. It's not the primary thing that should be focused on. And unfortunately, that's why we're having the problems, because there are no standards on making that bag in this day and age. There are no standards in what you need to do to make that bag, and it's becoming less and less limited as we move further. People are, because it's becoming more popular not to have standards. It's becoming more popular. As long as you got a bag, people are revering you. They're respecting you. They're giving you all of the things. That's what we said earlier, respect. Problem is, our definition of respect and a woman's definition of respect are two different definitions. And until we identify that and we can have a clear conversation on what do you mean by respect, and this is what I mean by respect, and have a meeting of the minds, respect will be lost in the translation.
I don't even
Next
think.
show.
I think too many guys move on their standards. They don't stand 10 toes down on their standards. Their standards are too adjustable. If you have a standard, then hold to it. They shouldn't be. If your standards is what it is, then why are you adjusting? She needs to adjust. Why are you adjusting to her? I don't understand that. Why? Why are you doing that? Why are you making these adjustments? If these are your standards, hold to it until you find a woman who's willing to roll with your standards. That means you got to go through 20 different dates. So be it. Yeah, it's going to be lonely anyway. Go get your bottle of Jergens, keep it moving.
And what's funny, Hank, is you're right. And that doesn't only apply to women. Men don't really live up to standards. Think
No,
about
I'm not talking about women, dog.
No,
I'm
he's
not
talking about the
talking
men.
about women.
I agree. What I'm saying is that men don't have standards nowadays. Think about the snitching culture. Think about nobody's living by any standards in this generation. Even the older generations are now not living by standards as well. What standards are we actually, and I challenge both men and women, what standards are we living by? You're right. I agree with you. What standards are we standing 10 toes down on outside of some people who will sit and discuss it because they live by it, like yourself and the gentleman on this call? There aren't too many people living up to any standards, unfortunately, men and women. And that's our biggest challenge. That's why we're on these panels often. It's because society is no longer valuing standards.
I agree. We don't live by any code or honor or ethics anymore. It's just like I said, we live in America, which is supposed to be the land of the free. It is the land of the free, but in my opinion, there's way too much freedom going on to the point where you can't check anyone for anything. And if you try to check someone, and not in a bad way, it's to kind of correct them, like, hey, you probably shouldn't be doing that, or look out. They have a problem. Someone pulls out their cell phone, they want to start recording instead of just talking it out. I thought about moving to a different country. And if I would move to a different country, at least for the ideals, it would probably be Japan, because family is still big in Japan. Where they honor your family, honoring your culture. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been in Japan. I know King has, but King can attest to this. Depending on where you're at in Japan, like, it's very, very clean. You don't see any trash on the ground because everyone knows something as small as that, you put the trash in the trash bin. on top of that, they have designated bins for plastic, for paper. I went to McDonald's. They even have a designated bin for your ice. So when you dump out your cup, you put your ice in a certain bin. We don't have that here in America anymore, because it's just be free and live your life, and that's a recipe for chaos. And we're seeing it now. There's so much chaos going on. It's only going to get worse unless we decide to make it better. And I think that change is going to have to happen at the family level if we're going to have any chance of turning this around.
Well, I agree with Sean there. I know King's going to disagree with me with this one because it's coming up. But when we are not, a lot of Americans, I don't go to church, have the structure. You don't, it has to be church, but I'm going to get church because I go to it. The structure to build you up and keep you in line in a way, in order to like have your standards in a better term. Or the other one, like I like use lately, is you're selling for less. Why settle for less when you say, "Hey, I want this in a wife. I want her to be a cook, clean, cook, do this, do this, do this." You don't have to settle. I'm not saying it has to be to that T, but if you have a certain mindset, what you're looking for in a woman, so why are you selling for the woman from the street who doesn't know how to cook and do stuff like that? That's it.
Mhm. Hello, Mr. Corey. Thank you so much for joining the panel. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, what would you like to add to the conversation?
First of all, Hank, thank you for showing up. I was laughing pretty hard. You are 100% right. Men have to stop. I mean, we have to stop caring about what everybody thinks. When it comes to our standards, it don't matter what our brother thinks. Our own flesh and blood. Ignore them. Your standards are yours. If they question your standards, question your relationship with them. Period. Because I don't know about you, but even in my family, I got people I ain't gonna go get advice from. The hell? Crazy's crazy.
Mm.
But I mean, it just is what it is. I'm drawn to wisdom, truth. You know, that's what I'm drawn to. Because there is so much nonsense going on these days. I mean, just outright utter nonsense.
Yeah, I think the woman in the clip is I want to say delusional like the man said. But I think for some women they just don't know. You guys were talking about women not wanting to, say when they're wrong and things like that. They know when they're not right and when they're wrong. But when I say that they don't know, again, if you have never saw the order of a household, then you are going to be attracted to dysfunction because that's what you know. So this woman doesn't sound like she's ever seen a father in the home controlling the atmosphere, the mom being the person who is nurturing and catering to her husband and taking care of her children, and the father who is the leader of the home and making sure that everyone is in decency and in order. Like Grooming and Review said, a lot for some people that does start with church. For some people that starts with sports, organized sports. With some people, it starts with a profession or a certain craft or hobby that they get into, where they do have a hierarchy, where there's a leader who again is controlling the atmosphere or the activity or whatever it may be. She said that men don't want women to get jobs because she feels as though that not get jobs, but have money because she feels as though they'll be controlling. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe it could just be me. Mm.
Hmm.
I would rather a man tell me what to do than to be on my own merit. But there are a lot of women who don't want that. I feel like women, we're wired to take direction from a man, and the more that women battle that, to me, it's almost like nails on a chalkboard, because it's like, but that's what we need. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need for a man to tell us what to do. We need for a man to be the leader, because that's just the natural order of things. So when women want to get so far from that, like, oh, he's controlling and he doesn't want me to do anything, that just shows you that they don't want to be under a natural order. They just want to do whatever they want to do. And I think those women, again, have to hurt more, because when you get
Precious.
to a certain level of hurt, you'll realize, you'll come to a realization, like, okay, what am I doing wrong? What am I not, like, why do I keep bumping my head here? Why do I keep, running into this same situation? And it's because you want to go against the natural order of things, and when you don't see it, it is harder. It's harder for you to, be submissive, or it's harder for you to get underneath of that ideology, because in your mind you've been doing whatever you wanted to do for so long, and you've seen your mom, your single mom, or your single auntie, or whoever doing the same thing, and you think that that's what you're supposed to be doing. And so when a
Precious.
man comes around and says, "Hey, I like you to start saving your money, or I like you to start doing this because this will be better for you in the long term," because men are very, long term. You guys can see more long term than short term, whereas women do that short term thing, right? If he says that he wants you to do that and you're saying, "Oh, well, he's controlling me," then it means that you haven't gotten to a place of hurting enough to say, "You know what? I truly do need to listen to this man, because at this point I'm going to be out here, like, really out here
Well, Precious,
uncovered."
I got some pushback on that, where you say that women don't know how life is supposed to function. Well, in this age of equality, men don't owe women that kind of mercy. They expect men to be on their game, on their frame, and about their business. Don't men have the same right to expect that from a woman?
Definitely. But
I'm
I'm
not
I'm just
their,
saying, if
but
a
I'm not
woman
her
doesn't see
therapist. I'd
it.
rather move on and find one that actually has a brain.
You're right. Absolutely. I always say all the time that men don't have to deal, like, you don't have to deal with anything that you don't want to deal with. I mean, that
But
goes without saying to me.
but
But
Precious, I put the onus on men because we're idiots. You said earlier natural order, correct?
mhm.
How are we expecting them to understand natural order when there's nothing natural about them? Did you see her hair? She has on a blonde weave. There's nothing natural about that. And I hate trying to, I feel like sometimes I get into this stereotypical mode, but I'm an idiot when I don't really look at what is right in front of me. And I've done it so many times to where I feel like, how can I miss these lashes? As soon as I see the lashes talking to me without the words even speaking, blah blah blah. Those big. I'm already at I cannot listen to this person. I'm already there now in this, and that's why it's difficult. Yeah, look, I'm as soon as I see her, I'm already tuned out because there is no natural order there.
Yep.
Everything about her is unnatural. So I'm the idiot for even thinking that she's going to understand, or that, and so I find myself unfairly stereotyping women in this day and age, because as soon as I see blonde blue hair, I'm like, okay, they ain't gonna be where my mind is, and I'm not even gonna want to engage in the conversation because it's going to start out yes and beautiful and brother and king and all of this stuff. I mean, unless my name is King naturally, the real king, I'm getting tired of even hearing that word. Leave me alone with that. Miss me with that king stuff.
I'm with you on that
Simply
too, the old king and queen nonsense.
Oh my
Yeah,
lord.
same here. Same here.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, we are the idiots when we want natural order, but everything about them is yelling at us fake, yelling at us unnatural, and we still sitting there giving the benefit of the doubt, like they're going to be where we want them to be or where we need them to be.
Hey, Sean, what about her outfit where she's got handprints on her titties? I mean, come on.
Hey,
You know,
look,
it's like the women that wear the t-shirts that got the animal eyes right on their boobs.
I
You
mean,
want me? You want me to take you serious?
to
Really?
be
I
honest with
remember when
you,
I was younger, my parents would never let me wear anything that was like that had writing on the butt. Like it just wasn't allowed. Like you know what I mean? It just is like you're not going to school in pajamas. You're not, standards.
yeah.
standards.
It just
Let me
was
ask
not allowed.
everybody a
And so
question
even
here.
today, I will not wear anything that has writing
So
on the
you
butt.
don't
Like
wear
you'll
booty shorts
never
that say
see me with
"precious" on
yeah,
the booty?
no,
in that
because it
That's
draws.
merch.
The thing
That's
no.
is,
merch.
your
in the
Juicy
parents, Joe.
house,
Your
in the
parents.
house for her
princess.
man.
In
Now,
the
see,
house, right? In the house, but you'll never see me out with something written across my butt.
yeah, and it's because your parents knew that that draws attention to that area,
Exactly.
Right.
and you know what I mean. Guys that young, I mean, to control themselves. I mean, that's not particularly easy to do. But
I,
I'm just saying, like her. Here's the thing, Sean. I'll say this about the chicks who wear the makeup. Some women wear makeup because they like wearing makeup. It's just their thing, and you talk to them, you can get a compelling conversation. A level-minded headed person. But
Some women
then
need to
I
wear it.
was gonna defend this woman, like and say she might be, but then when I heard that thing talk, and I saw the hands on the boobs, like Corey said, I was like, nah, nothing to defend here.
Let me ask
yeah,
everybody a question
I
here.
mean,
This,
and
I mean, just I want to say, don't. I don't say this. Don't count them out because they like to wear makeup. But if I get it, if it's kicked on like a clown, yeah, that's I'm with. Then I'm with you,
well,
Sean. Then
well, you know what it is? It's not about wearing the makeup. It's certain quality because there's a natural subtleness of makeup that's just subtle.
right,
And I
it's a
can
punctuation at the end of a sentence.
right
Makeup
when
can be,
I
yeah,
right, but when I can see it and it's very like Precious just said, loud, and it
yeah,
speaks to me before they speak,
yeah.
then I'm trying not to be stereotypical because often the conversation starts out well. But like I said earlier, um,
Hmm.
if what was that statement I said? I said if in fact your heart and your words are not in agreement, then it's going. You're not going to have a true confession. You're not going to have a true conversation because
Hmm.
a lot of times, for example, when I see, and I'm trying not to do this because I want people to love their looks, but when I see a bunch of name brands and the bags and the loot and everything is Chanel and that, to me that has a very strong indication
Yeah,
of low self-esteem. It has a very
yeah.
strong indication
Yeah, they
of
have no self-identity
insecurity.
at all.
Right. I mean, the thing
Mhm.
is, and it tells me that you don't respect money. You know
And,
what I
and
mean?
in fairness, I won't just limit it to women. I say the same thing about men, except men, they naturally expose it. It's already known, and it's almost if he got that car, and that's almost a typical stereotype that follows men. But for women, for some reason, we haven't yet gotten to the point where that just identifies them and their insecurities and their self-esteem like they have in men who do the same thing.
Hmm.
And then too, to kind of add to what Sean Boulder was saying, it you can look at somebody and it's not unfairly judged. You can look at somebody and kind of give them a mold or put them into an archetype. For example, if I were to say, I've never met Angela White, and I see Angela White and how she is now, you might go, let me get to know her. And if I'm looking at her as somebody long term, that might make sense. But then when I say the name Black China and you get that image of who Black China was, that is Angela White. That's what her government name is. She don't no longer go by that Black China brand or name that she had with all of the fake everything that she was rocking. She's a lot more natural now. It looks like her attitude and everything has changed as well. We're looking at her and how she is as Angela White, you might give her more of a chance if you're looking at her for somebody long term versus Black China. That's straight up that's a 304 that on a Wednesday night I'm just gonna really take a look at, just to slide up in and keep it moving.
Oh, King, you just actually gave me a confirmation, and I'm no longer going to feel guilty about stereotyping. Here's
Yeah.
why. If I look at a man and he has on a Pendleton and a rag hanging out of his pocket with some khakis, I'm probably going to think he's a gangbanger. Safely, it's a safe assumption. So why am I even concerned when I see the uniform of a thought?
Uniform.
We're calling them a thought. You just convinced me. I'm just calling it a.
You can spot it.
Here's the thing. Also, when people wear those labels, it tells me they don't know what they're doing. Like, you don't really have money, or because the thing is, rich people, they wear high fashion, but it's quiet fashion. None of the things that rich people wear have logos on it. Like the real anything that has a logo on it, like Gucci or whatever,
they don't advertise.
that's entry level fashion. Like the bags with the logos all over that, all of that is entry level. No matter how much money you spent on it, that's entry level. The real stuff comes in the really high quality fabrics and the construction of the garments, and they have no logos on it. Like, I mean, when you start wearing stuff like Cucinelli, it looks like you got it from like Target or Walmart or something like that. But no, when you put a Cucinelli on your body, you're like, okay, this is different, but no logos on any of that stuff. So when I see people wearing logos and, labels and stuff like that, I'm just like, whatever. I'm not impressed by it. That's what I'm saying. I don't think anyone else should be either. It really is a waste of money to buy the entry level stuff. You can just save up. If you got to save up to buy high fashion, don't buy half fashion.
Yeah, you shouldn't
buy
it.
Yeah, do not buy it if you have to save up for it, because it's at the end of the day, it's clothes in a bag, just like anything else.
Well, you're trying to impress people who don't even care about you.
Exactly. It's not worth the money if you have to save up for it. Go do
I
something else
mean,
with
if you really like it, buy that $3,000 Italian leather jacket because you like it, but don't buy it to impress somebody.
And the $3,000 jacket is not high fashion. High fashion is more than
No.
$3,000.
I tried one thing on in Vegas, and I said it could go right back on the hanger.
It sure
It
can.
looked nice. It was real nice. It fitted nice. It had all these types of crocodile and every other type of reptile on there, but I said, you know what? My money ain't being spent on this today, but it was nice trying it on.
Last time I bought anything high fashion was a pair of pants. And I said $600 on them. Couldn't tell you where they are today. I was like, yeah, no. To this day, no clue where they are. And it's not like I lost them or something. I assume someone stole them. Because like pants don't just walk away. I'm just like, that's $600 pair. No, I ain't never doing this again, like ever.
I got a limit on what I'll spend on clothes.
Right. I mean, I could be a billionaire. I'm still not spending that kind of money on clothes, man.
Man, Dre, what man did you have in your house that he stole your pants?
I don't have dudes over my house like that, man. Like I have like a fight party every now and again. You know what I'm saying? Or something like that, or a Super Bowl party or something like that. But that's about it, man.
Hey,
I don't have people in my house like that.
You need to look at
$600 pants for them skinny jeans
and get your pants back from them.
You said what?
You need to find some of them guys in your circles, man, about your same height and get your pants back.
Get my pants back.
Wait.
You bought some skinny jeans, didn't you,
I can't gloss over a couple of things. I can't go. One is that, what was that high expensive coochie smelly? What was that you just mentioned? That was so expensive and no.
Cucinelli?
Yeah, that's what you said, right? Coochie smelly.
Most people don't even know what Cucinelli is. They've never heard of it. But it's like, no. Those t-shirts that in real high fashion, those t-shirts, just regular t-shirts, cost $650. Wow. And when you go to the store to shop for them, there's no price on them. And they're waiting on you to ask for the price because my uncle made that one mistake. So how much are these pair of shoes? The guy politely said, sir, if you have to ask for the price, you can't afford them. Now, my uncle could, but the fact that had the goddamn nerve to say that. I was like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you don't ask for prices in stores like that. You just say, hey, I want like 4 pair of these, 3 pair of that. You know what I'm saying? Here's my black card. Like that's how rich people shop. They just order stuff and just put it on their card or something like that and call it a day.
Yeah, but if you look at Warren Buffett, that guy makes billions of dollars, and he limits his salary to $100,000 a year. He doesn't
Maybe
waste
that's all
money.
it needs. I mean, that's because the company pays for everything else in his life.
Right, but he doesn't just piss money away.
If you think about it,
not visibly anyway.
Well,
he pisses money away. Believe me.
Well, he don't buy $600 skinny jeans, Mandrill.
I don't buy skinny jeans either. Too much muscle in the front. I don't understand.
Dude, I'm not gonna let that one go. $600 skinny jeans.
It was skinny jeans. I never understood sagging, and I never understood skinny jeans. I just
wait.
man.
Speaking of not letting it go, Precious, where'd you find Gucci shorts with Precious on the booty that you wear around the house? I'm just curious.
Yeah. Do you get
Who said that? I don't have a pair of those. What are you talking about?
Well, he asked. He said, "Precious, you walking around with You said I'm not gonna do it outside."
Yes, you did. You did say that.
But I never said I had a pair of shorts that had pressure.
Hey, don't go dragging me into this.
You the one started it, Corey.
Oh no! He's dragging this one. I didn't drag that one either.
Yeah, I never said that.
I'm just messing with you.
But if you guys really think about it, people who spend those money usually don't have the money. Most people who have money don't buy 600 pairs of shoes or anything like that.
Yeah, you know,
they're smarter than us.
You can tell even by the way some people talk. Some people on YouTube who say they have money and say they're doing this and the other, but then you listen to what they're saying, and I'm sitting here like, no, that's not how that works. That's no. That's just then you listen to something else. I'm like, that's incorrect. That's incorrect. Okay, this guy to know what he's talking about. And so I just watch the content, but then that person has a lot of people who follow them. You know what I mean? These people have a lot of traction, a lot of people follow them. I was like, all right, you better people go out there and you educate yourselves, people.
I'll give you a good example. If you think about Creed Eventful, the cologne that thing is like $600. I'm thinking to myself, who the hell will pay $600 for a cologne? All natural, all this stuff. I'm good. I'll stick with my 100.
You'll be amazed how many people buy that $600 cologne too.
Oh yeah, I agree with you 100%. I'm not disagreeing. I review stuff like that all the time, and I was looking to bring it on my channel. I looked at it, I'm like, nope. Let's go to another website. Let's go to something a little more reasonable.
What people are paying $150 for cost $30 when I was a kid.
Inflation, man. Inflation, Corey. And no, don't forget, Corey, it's your generation that got us in this fix.
Oh my God!
You know what? What was the topic that we were speaking about? I forgot about.
Huh?
I know we gotta get back focused.
Right.
Yeah. Let's get back on topic.
So we're talking about the woman who thought that men just want to be controlling. So we're gonna move on to the last topic of the evening of a man, and King is going to talk more about who this guy is. So I'm not too familiar. But he's talking about just living the single life. He said, look, I'm going to just pay for some coochie and keep it moving.
Question for you, buddy. Why are you not married?
Ask me again. I'm not married because, buying vagina is a little bit cheaper these days. Women out here, especially for me, women out here, they want the Birkin bags. They want to eat like 3 times a day. Fuck. Right? They want to go out places, and then they don't want to go like regular places. They want to go to all the expensive ass places, right? They want to go to the expensive places, movies and first class tickets, this shit. They want to go on vacation, right? And if you don't look good, they want to like pretend that they got the shit themselves, so there's a lot of things that come with when I can just pay like $200, $250. get right to the good stuff.
Why are you not married?
Bye, Felicia. The fuck I want to get married for and do all this extra shit, buy a house, and we gotta buy you a car. I gotta call you on gas money because most likely you ain't gonna have a job.
Yo, broke ass.
No. I'll just rather pay the $250, $350, $450, whatever it is at that point. It's gonna be a lot cheaper, I swear. And then your wife ain't gonna give you the pussy that I can possibly get buying. Just to let you know that. I mean, that's the only way I can answer.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. No, that's a brother who's just giving up. No, that's a brother that's just giving up, man.
But do you think that he's
no,
delusional in a way?
no.
Do you think that he's delusional in a way? Because how
No.
long are you
Nope.
going to
No.
pay for $250, $300 coochie? Like, are you going to be 80 doing this? Like, how
Oh hell yeah,
long
that's what them blue
can a
pills are
man
for.
get away with doing that?
I mean,
the entirety of your existence. Yep.
yeah. Technically, he could get away with it. And he has a valid point. Quite frankly, I can't even argue.
Well, we
with
know
him.
you would say that, Mister.
That's why I sing every week. I'm living a single life because it's a lot easier to be practical than it is to be in love.
That's true, but I mean, if you go for love and you get it
You
right,
sound scared.
it's
You
worth it.
sound scared.
Right? You can't move in fear like women
I
do,
don't.
Sean.
Precious, wait, hold on 1 second. I don't sound scared. I am
You
scared.
do. Oh, okay.
Well, I know you are
There you
scared.
go.
That's why you
Let's
sound
be
scared.
clear.
There you go. But the thing
You
is,
are
like,
scared. That's why you sound scared.
the thing
Hey,
is,
But
I
that's the
mean,
thing, though.
it's not a sound.
I think that most men are just scared. Like, why don't y'all admit that? Why don't y'all, other than Sean, because you just admitted it, but why don't more men admit that you're just scared? You'd rather pay $250 to lay down with a woman rather than to be the leader of a household and to be able to control what comes in, what goes out, what's going on in the relationship. It just seems like you're scared to take that leap of faith, like you talk about, Sean, right? Like, take that leap of faith. Let's trust. Let's do this. Let's do that. Just say, I'm scared out of my mind, and I don't,
Yeah,
and I truly don't want to take this step. So I'm gonna fall back. So if you're interested, don't even come this way because that's not on my agenda.
I gotta call cap on that. It ain't
Yeah,
fear.
come on,
I'm
Corey.
53 years old. It ain't fear. It's logic.
Yeah,
These women have lost
it's
their
risk
freaking
management.
mind. They're
Well-
materialistic, and they're Andrew. It's your turn. They're
Every woman is
crazy.
not like,
They're
if all
absolutely
the
crazy and
women y'all
off
are
their
coming across,
rocker.
if all the women that you
Well,
are
shame
coming
don't work
across
on a
are
man
like
my
that,
age. I'm
Corey,
not
if
afraid of
all
nothing
the
now.
women you're coming across are like
I don't
that,
give a damn.
change your surroundings. Why are you attracting those kind of women? Like, I understand the plight of what's going on in today's dating pool, and people say it got pee in it and this and this and that. But things are what you make it. So if you're coming across these women and you want to be married, stop talking about the women that's not doing what they should be doing and continue to seek for what you want. But
I've
it's
been
like,
talking to
we have these
31-year-old
panels,
law
we
students. They
talk,
just don't fit my mold.
right, but okay, so you just keep it moving. But when we get on these panels and we talk about men and women, it's like, oh, these women are crazy and this and that. And you're
No, they're
never going to
spoiled.
attract. You're never
They're
going to
absolutely
attract.
spoiled. They're
You're
rotten
never,
spoiled.
Corey, you're never going to attract what you want if you continue to talk about the bad that's out there. You're never going to attract what you want.
Precious, you
Well,
have
you know,
a very
when
good
you've
point.
got that stink in your nose, it's kind of hard not to smell it after a
But you
while.
know, women do get tired of hearing that too, because every woman out there is not like that. Every woman
No,
out there
but
is
the
not
ones
like
that
that.
don't smell like that are married.
So now, right? But it sounds so to the women that are married, it sounds like y'all are crying. It sounds like y'all
But the
have
whole
just
thing,
given up. You're crying. You're scared. You
No, I
don't
just
know
get a
what to do.
passport. I just
we
get a
are.
passport. I'm not afraid
We
of
are
nothing.
crying. We're crying. We're crying out to you guys. The
Oh my
women who are
God.
married understand. We are, and
I
that's
ran out
just
of
the
tears years
reality.
ago.
And unfortunately, it used to be. You were right, but now it's a talking point because it's becoming more and more popular to just be less and less feminine, less and less cooperative. And it used to be where it was, a minority, but it's becoming equal and a majority at this point. And we're trying to overlook it with that talking point of why don't you just try another pool? No, the pools out there. We got the Ebony K pools. We got the regular hoochie dot pool. We got the what's the Amber Rose pool? The
Don't forget
pools
about
are
Karen's.
just
Footwatch.
yeah. We
But if you got those pools, who are you buying the coochie from?
Hey,
well, that's the whole
you-
thing. We rather buy it when in fact we know what the transaction is. It's transactional at that point, and
I
we
don't
don't got
want to buy it.
See, here's the thing.
I'm not
The
buying
woman
it.
you
Here's
don't
the
want to
Hey.
be
thing.
with.
Here's
You're
the
Hey.
creating the woman you don't want to be with, and then say, "Well, we got the thought pool, we got the Amber Rose pool." You are in that. You swimming in the deep end in that pool. You
But
Hey,
guess
are in
what?
the
the
coochie.
The
marketplace is the
difference is
marketplace.
the difference is Amber, the Ebony K's and the Amber, they're acting like they're not that. You buying
But
them
you already
regardless,
know that
but they're
they
acting
are
like
that.
you're not buying them. And that's the whole thing. I'd rather somebody tell me, like I said earlier, I'd rather you come forward with this is what it is than act like it's not that and that's what it is. And that's what we're running into more and more in our world, unfortunately.
You know, I'll tell you what, these women were raised on the fact that their career is important, and they get into a relationship or try to get into one, and they want the man to make complete adjustments in his life so she can keep that damn career. And men don't
Go
give
find
a
for a woman.
two rips about that career they got.
Okay, here's the thing, Corey. Here's what you do
We
about
don't
those women.
care.
Okay, here's the
Go
thing.
find a
We
woman who
don't
only
care
makes
about your
$5 an hour.
paper
No,
on the wall.
it's not that, Corey. Here's the thing. Like, I don't understand. I
You
know
know
I
how
blew
many
up. No,
people have tried to
hold
impress
on,
me at
hold
my
on, hold
age,
on.
and I'm just
I
not
get it.
impressed anymore.
I get it, Corey. So don't be
just
impressed.
what?
I'm not impressed either. But the thing is, I know I blew up on your panel last time, but this is what I'm talking about. Fellas, if you find a woman that's not gonna meet the needs that you need her to meet, move on and find another one. The search keeps going. Okay, now Sean, come on, man. It ain't that extreme. They're either thoughts or they're uncooperative, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole section in the middle of good God-fearing women that no guy pays attention to, and they bad. Okay, they go to church, they go to work, they go to the grocery store, they go home. That's their problem and why they can't find men. They don't really go out anywhere. But you have to catch them you have to catch them at church, you have to catch them at grocery stores, and if you work with them, try that. I wouldn't recommend it, but hey, from what I'm hearing, y'all need to try it. I mean, it's not this hard, man. If a
I've
woman
heard a
says,
lot of things on this panel over the last year or so I've been doing it, and you can't tell me that there's this group and this group and this group. Sean, you've been dealing with somebody for 10 years that you continue to deal like y'all are you're hurting yourselves as well.
Right.
So when
What are
you
you
talk
doing
about
there,
the
Sean?
women that are out here, you also have to take a look at yourself and say, okay, what am I not doing right?
Yeah,
Where
you're
am
not
I
doing
in life where I'm not finding this practical woman that I want to be with?
You're shooting in the wrong. Look, Sean, it sounds like you and Corey. You're hunting, but you're taking your shots in the wrong direction.
Well, I mean, in fairness,
you know what I'm saying?
You're right, and in fairness, sometimes I speak in jest, sometimes it's just my reality. But to the point that you just made, Precious, for example, and in all seriousness, the 10-year relationship that I had wasn't the failure of it wasn't entirely on her. There was a lot on me, and one of the biggest things that was on me is that I didn't believe in the institution of marriage, and she did. And and that, for a lot of the reasons that we speak about on these panels, I really was firmly, I believed in being dedicated. I believed in being monogamous. I just felt like that the institution of marriage was a piece of paper. I have since valued it differently, and I value it differently now. But that was a significant that validation is very important to a lot of the women that we speak of. Now, my problem is I was looking for a woman who wasn't looking for the validation, but wanted the committed relationship and wanted the man who would honor her. And that is a difficult thing to find here in America, especially.
Sean, are you
So you was wasting that woman's goddamn time, Sean.
No, I mean, I don't believe in that, Hank, because I took care of her family. I raised her kids. I did everything that a husband would do.
No, but you didn't give her your last name though.
And again, I didn't mind that. I just didn't believe in it. Again, the institution of marriage. I had, and this is what I had to learn. I had a lot of examples of failed marriages from the day from when I was since I've been born. So that
Yeah,
was
but that's
part of
other
that.
people failed marriage. What does that have to do with their failed marriage? Have to do with you?
Right.
Well,
It's just fear.
let
You
me
said it.
answer that question. Let me answer that question. The failed marriages that I was exposed to were really deceptive and really like, for example, my mother and father were married until my father died. My father died when I was in my 20s, but my mother and father were separated since I was 6 months. So that was my first introduction to marriage. Then I see in growing up in the PJs where all of the families who were married, they were just lying to each other and running around on each other. That was my second introduction to marriage. Then as I grew older and got into relationships, nobody honored what they were saying, which was kind of my third installment to the whole process of marriage. So it had a lot to do with my idea and understanding of the word marriage. Now, I was more on honor your word and your vow. And I did that outside of marriage. But that piece of paper that I saw nobody honoring all my life growing up is what I did not respect and what I did not have a respect for. Like I said, to your point, I've learned since then, but I honored her in that relationship wholeheartedly, but to the point that I also understand that the validation of, like you said, giving a last name is very important to her. But I thought giving my word, my commitment, my honor to her was more important, and that's where we failed.
Yeah, but she didn't want just that. She wanted the marriage too. And if
I
she
I,
shared it with you,
I
and
agree now.
if she expressed that to you, then you should either shit or get off the pot.
I understand that
You
now.
don't want to stay on the goddamn pot without
But
taking a shit.
but Hank, if you're sitting on a
13
pot
years.
and you did take but there's a lot of other elements. I don't want to get too personal with it, but there was a lot of other elements that supplied that. But I did at a point understand that. And at that point she was no longer interested, and I respected that. You
But
know
once
what I mean?
what she told you her agenda, why didn't you honor it knowing you didn't want to do that? Why didn't you just say,
First
hey,
off, the agenda wasn't clear. This is the point that I said there's a lot of other variables that I don't want to get into all of that to make it personal like that. But
well,
the
you ain't
agenda
got to go
was
into detail, but
I'm gonna answer you. The agendas weren't clear from the onset. We didn't communicate that clearly, and that was another part of the failure that I learned in hindsight. I thought she thought she communicated it clearly. I thought I communicated my viewpoint clearly, but we really did not clearly have a sit down and make clear intentions of what we were doing, and
yeah,
we
but
jumped into it
how do you misunderstand? I want to be married. How do you miss that? I want to be
because
married. I don't want to be married. How do you
hey
mess that up?
let me answer that question. I want to be married. Could mean I want to be married to anybody. I want that piece of paper, which to me is what she said, and I was like, all right, well, it doesn't seem, and like I said, there was other elements involved that made me believe, because we weren't really in a committed relationship, so to speak. We just chose to be committed to one another, and so there was other people around, and I'm like,
what?
Come on, man. Come
Sean,
on,
Sean,
man.
I got a question for
Yeah,
you.
Sean, come on now.
the reality of what I'm saying is just the truth. Whether you agree, understand it or not, that's just what it is.
Oh, okay, so help us
Man,
understand. You say
Hey,
that
we're
like
you.
going in circles here.
Yeah, right. Sounds like some
But
bullshit,
this
Sean.
is
Here's
what's
the
going
thing.
on out here. I'm
Hold
telling
on.
y'all. This is
God,
what's going on
Clear
out
this
here.
up for me,
look,
Sean.
you play with that woman's emotion, man.
Yeah,
If she
Sean.
told you I want to be married and sit there and say I want to be married, you know who she want to be married to, the same person she's in a committed relationship with. And she wasn't. They wasn't no. I want to be married to someone. You was a someone. You knew that, man. You
did
didn't
you,
want to be
Hank,
married.
Hank,
You probably should have said,
Hank,
"Baby,
no,
look,
no, no.
I
Hank,
want to get married. I
did you just
understand
hear,
what you're doing."
Hank, did you just hear what I said?
Yeah, I
Because you
heard what you
missed that
said.
point. I said we were not in a committed relationship. That
But
was
you were
never
committed
clear.
to each other. That's the confusing part.
I said we were committed by choice. So basically what that means is that,
You
yo,
make no sense here, Sean.
well, if you listen, I might. What that actually means is that if in fact we choose, I basically didn't put any constructions, or I let there be liberty. And I'm like, yo, you can see who you want to see. Just be very forthright if that's what you want to do. Be honest. I'm not sitting here trying to have you lose that, and vice versa. I wanted to be with you, and I want you to be with me because it's something that this is what you chose to do. Now, in hindsight, in fairness to what you all are saying, I get where that can be confusing. I get the mixed message in it. But but at the time, I was very clear on, yo, I'm not sitting, you can have as many friends, whoever you like. I'm not sitting here trying to impose that you need to be committed to me if you don't want to. Okay,
That
Sean.
is shiny.
I'm
I don't
sorry,
know. King
Sean
said it was
Golden, but I had to
Shawnee and
put the
Big.
other Sean on blast. It's just, when you say all that, it's a little bit exhausting because at the end of the day, you're either committed to someone or you're not. If you don't want to be with someone, make that known. If you want to be with them, make it known. But I honestly, women, we need to stop giving y'all the access. And that's just point blank, period. Because whether you want to be with somebody or you don't. And I think that women, we try to keep the door open. We try to keep hope. We try to keep faith alive. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years down the line, it's like, oh well, you're really not getting what you result. And I know Kendra G says it all the time. Stop sleeping with men that don't want relationships. Stop sleeping
Well,
with the men that are not clear about what they want for their life and including you in that life. So, you could have done whatever you wanted, Sean, but at the end of the day, she wanted marriage and she kept that door open and she kept that access open to you. And I think in some instances, men take full advantage of that and it's not right. And I'm just saying.
well,
So let me be vulnerable for a minute. Look here. Me and my ex-wife got divorced in 2016. In 2018, we got back together. And one of her, she wanted to was get remarried, and which I was okay with. I was in agreement with. But in order for me to do that, I need for her to do certain things. And one of the things I need for her to do is for us to go to marital counseling. Now, she started going, didn't feel like it was fair because you feel like it was just one side, So I don't know if any of y'all went to counseling with, couples counseling, but sometimes the counselors, the therapist gonna agree with you. Sometimes the therapist gonna agree with her. So she felt like it was just more than just one way. So she decided she don't want to continue to go. Well, I told her, I said, hey, if we don't go, we don't go to America, we're not going to get married. I'm not going to remarry you. She made the decision. She said, okay, that's fine. Then we'll separate. And I was okay with that because that was my standards. I wasn't move off of them for what? No, this is what I need for us to happen, for us to be successful. This got to happen. She wasn't willing to do it. I was willing to let it go. Regardless, I was willing on letting it go. I'm not going to string her along, keep her no, I'm not going to do that because I'll be wasting her time. She's looking for this. I wasn't willing to give her because I wouldn't get what I'm looking for. So I let her go. Now, did it hurt? Yes, because I knew I broke my family up again. And it was my decision to do that. And I was okay with it. But this wasn't, my standards wasn't being met. And I'm holding to my standards. And that it is what it is.
I agree, Hank. Women got to stop thinking they're freaking perfect. They all
Sean, I
need
wanna
work
ask you
just
a
like
question.
men do.
All right, Sean, listen, I want to ask you a question. And be serious. Is this a peacock girl you told us about before?
No.
Actually, it is. Yeah.
He
No,
said,
it.
"I can see clearly now."
So,
I'm just saying, Sean,
no,
Sean,
seriously.
Shout out here bullshit with this woman.
right,
Straight up
Sean.
down that
Listen.
See.
God
No,
damn,
no,
son.
Sean, hold on. Let me say this,
Let
Sean.
me add some substance to this because y'all think that is some bullshit. And
Because it sounds like
instead
you're
of
a
put,
hot mess.
I
It
know what it
sounds like you're
sounds
a
like
hot
because
mess, Sean.
I'm being very
Honest.
elusive on details.
Okay.
I
And
see. Like he
and
was back in marriage too.
Right.
and
We
reason
can tell.
again, again, you're right about the marriage thing because I didn't believe in the institution of marriage. I was very clear on that. And as well, but I did to your point, Precious, I did commit. I was very committed. As a matter of fact, before I got with her, like I shared with y'all in the past, I was 2 years celibate. So my choice to get with her was very intentional. I
And you
just
still
did
didn't
not
marry
believe the institution of marriage. I did believe in commitment, and that's what I gave her. I did believe in honoring her, and that's what I did. But I didn't honor her in the American quote unquote way, and that's where we ran into issues. I get that, and I'm
I
not.
got a question for you, Sean. Are you still together? Are you still together with this lady now?
No.
Then you're not committed. Then you were never committed.
Uh, how?
Welcome,
Explain.
John the Baptist. I've never seen your
John
face
the
Sorry,
before,
Baptist,
so
how are you,
thanks
sir?
for
I didn't
honoring
mean to
us.
Explain what you
disrespect.
mean.
I didn't mean to disrespect. How the panel doing? How y'all doing this evening?
Very
All
good.
right, sir. Explain what
What's
you mean.
happening, brother? What's happening?
Good. Well, not much, man. What do you mean? What does commitment mean? Commitment mean what? You do it for a little while, then you stop, or what?
Uh, Commitment means staying committed to what word I give, and staying committed to what vow I take or what promise I make.
Okay, so you knew what she wanted, right? What she wanted to be committed to, and you knew what you wanted
Excuse
to be
me.
committed to. You knew what she wanted, and you know what you wanted. So why did you spend that much time with
See,
her? Why do
I
you?
love to. Let me answer that question. No, I did not know, and I wasn't very clear on that, and I made that very clear when I was speaking to her about it. And this is the things that I'm leaving out specifically is because again it was very aloof. There was a lot of things that were not. There was not a lot of to Precious point, and I use it all the time specifically now. Honest, open transparency. There was a lot of honesty, but there wasn't a lot of openness and transparency. And when that transparency and openness came in, that was when I actually felt confident and comfortable enough to go ahead and do some of the things that she wanted, as opposed to some of the things that I was asking of her, which was that openness and transparency, which was often or on occasions defaulted or were compromised.
Well,
So
Sean, have
Yeah,
you
but
ever thought about it
it
from her
sounds a lot. It
side?
sounds a lot.
Because from
It
her
sounds a
side,
lot.
her family probably heaped a little bit of shame on her because she stayed with a man that would not marry her.
that's not true. That's first off. If I go to the root of it, no.
If
Her
her family's
daddy.
traditional, it just goes by default.
Okay, I heard you. Now hear me. That's not the case. I understand what you're saying, but traditional families is not something that we both shared. So that wasn't the case.
It's more of a societal standard.
Exactly, and I was always and still am not one who follows society, as y'all can probably tell through my conversation, through
Well,
the
that's a
fight.
little
But I'm not even
self-righteous,
sure.
don't
But I'm
you
not even
think?
sure.
Because
I'm not
you're
even sure if you
inventing
follow
your
your
own
own principles,
standard.
though.
Well,
That's
yeah,
not
I can hear
really.
y'all both at the same time.
Wait, Court. Yeah, go ahead, John the Baptist.
I don't even think you have principles that you need to follow that you follow yourself. What it sounds like, though, because it's like you kind of go based on how you feel in the moment, rather than projecting what you want to be 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years from now. Most men need to have a principle, a set of standards that guide them throughout their life that they don't change by. I don't hear that when you talk. I don't hear that out of your voice, in your conversation.
Well, that's. I'm glad you could say that, but if you listen closely, I'm very clear on it. I've been very, very consistent on it, and I said it time and time again in this conversation. I did not believe in this institution of marriage. Now, I did believe in the spiritual context of marriage, which is quote unquote jumping a prom and being committed to your wife as soon as you have conception, which a lot of people do not agree with and do not follow right now in this society. They go on this spiritual journey and then they default on it. And I did not. That's part of the reason why I didn't believe in the institution of marriage, and sometimes still challenged with it.
Well, I appreciate you being hot, Sean, honest, open, and transparent. I think something's going on with your mic though. The sound got a little bit
Yeah. I'm
sound like
sorry
you
about
got distant. I just, I'm sorry if I, opened a can of worms with your relationship, but being on these panels, we always hear, well, women can do this more, men can do this more. And when I have you guys up here on the Monday night men's panel, I honestly, and I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I honestly would like for men to take more accountability in the situations that they get into, instead of saying, now you do have the group of women that are just not marriageable, or they're just not the ones that you're seeking, right? So we're showing this clip of a man who's saying, hey, look, I'm gonna just pay for it because women want to eat 3 times a day, and if a woman wants to eat 3 times a day and she don't want to feed herself, and she don't want to cook, and she don't want to do, I mean, cooking to me is not necessarily a wifely duty. Cooking is something that you do for yourself. So if you're not willing to cook for yourself and then cook for another body, such as your husband, to me, it's like you're just not marriageable material. So why would you be calling that woman out, right? Why would you be calling the woman out that wants to eat 3 times a day or has the wig or whatever? You're not going to marry her anyway. So why are we talking about those women and not talking about the women that you desire to be with, the places that maybe you should be to run into the women you desire to be with? I feel like we should have more conversations like that rather than the man ain't doing, because I don't like, I've had dating experiences, but I'm not going to trash men because I've had bad experiences. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to say I had a bad experience, or I had not even bad experiences, but I've had experiences that just didn't last. So, but I'm not going to trash men and say y'all ain't nothing and you got your thoughts and you got your this and you got your that. I'm just going to keep it moving until God sends me a husband. But it seems like men always want to be like, well, you got this and you got this, and then I don't want to take you guys' voices away. But if you want to attract what you want, why not speak about those things of what you want rather than what you're seeing in the groups of women that you don't want? Because
Well,
you're the way it sounds is like you're growing weary of the process. You're growing
Miss
tired
Precious.
of the process. And we need men to be strong. We need you to, continue to fight the fight, because there are good women out here that hear men like you speak. And you're like, okay, well, dang, even the men who are considering marriage are getting to their wits end. And it's not attractive. It's not something that a woman would say, okay, well, maybe he's a great candidate. It's like, he ain't even sticking around for the fight. I don't even know how long he gonna be able to stick it out. Like, you know what I mean? It's just not, it's not, it doesn't give people hope, you know?
Well, if the traditional
Can I
women had a
respond to
country
that?
club that they could start up to where we knew where to go find them, I mean, hell, we would visit that thing all the time. And the part about looking for a traditional wife, first of all, you can't tell a group of women in open public what exactly you're looking for because there's too many of them now that are chameleons. They do the switch up on you. They're just actors or actresses.
Well, I agree with you, Corey, and I disagree with you at the same time. Most of the times, we're too pussies to go up and say hi to a woman. What's worst case scenario is
Oh,
get
not
lost.
me.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying in general as men. But we also forget as men, we looked at the standard, or we looked at our parents or someone like, I want to do better than that. And we've lost focus. I'm not scared to get hurt. No, I'll put myself out there. I'll get hurt. I don't give a shit. I'll do it again over and over until I find something. I'm more worried if I can trust a person. Not scared to be hurt. Trust. It's something that
Well,
you build over time.
men used to be able to go to church, but we got so much feminism coming from the pulpit now because the preachers are just, I mean, my God, they're just greasing because women pay
I
tithes.
guess anybody could catch it tonight. The women, the preachers, anybody. It's just get the chair, get the chair,
Oh hell,
get
we
the
ain't
chair,
nobody's safe in this day
Screw
and
the
age.
chair.
get
Close
the
the door.
chair,
I say.
get the chair. Lord Jesus.
Grooming just led to the point that I advocate and emphasize often, and it boils down to trust. Without trust, there is no love, and unfortunately, my challenges in relationships have been that. And trusting from, like I said, the institution of marriage and its process, I did not trust it. And then having women who do trust it, I did not see men or women who trusted that institution. So I did not have trust in it. That's where that came from. Now, and moving forward, having trust in a relationship is very significant to me. That's what I lead and lend and build a foundation on. And unfortunately, that's where it sometimes fails. Because I had honesty, as I said, in my past relationship, and I love her to death. That's why I'm being very reluctant on showing and sharing details. But the point is, it boils down to trust, and part of the openness and transparency that was not given is part of where that trust was not built. And so, therefore, she was honest. I grant her and thank her for that. But that's when I learned those other two words, openness and transparency, and how important they are in relationships as well, through the relationship that I had.
Sean, it's like you're confusing when you talk. You say a lot of words, but I'm not getting the meaning of a message what you're trying to get to though.
Well, then why don't you ask the question and I'll give it to you? Because you said
No,
that
it's
three
like
times now and you still ain't hearing me. So go ahead and ask me a question. I'll answer you directly.
okay, so if you have trust issues, why would you get involved with a woman when you have trust issues? Why not work on the trust issue?
Let me share this with you. My theory and concept of how I approach trust, I trust you until you give me a reason not to. So, in doing so, what I run into often, and what I've been running into now, even being single, is that people I run into don't trust until you gain it and earn it. And that becomes a very significant wedge in the way that we build relationships. I'm just recently learning this and understanding this. And so it's not about having trust issues. It's about we have two different trusting methods and approaches to trust.
What are the two trusting methods? Give me the two trusting
I
methods.
just shared them with you. You just finished saying, I said one is trusting until you give me a reason not to, and the other is having to earn trust. Two different methods, two different ways to approach trust. And when you approaching them and don't identify it that way and can't recognize that, it forges a wedge in the way that your relationship can build, because one is trying to prove, one is looking for you to prove something that should already be there, and one is looking, because they're looking for that, now the other person is giving that, but you're being reluctant to be open.
Okay,
So
so
then
what's confusing about the conversation is you said I have trusted because you've seen a lot of marriages, I guess when you were younger and throughout life that did not work, and that made you not trust. So
I
why
said,
why
trust the institution of marriage. Please listen to everything I'm saying very clearly. I said, trust the
correct?
institution of marriage.
And you gave examples of marriage that failed before.
Trust it. Right. Go ahead.
Okay, so did you go back? Okay, since you used these previous marriages that failed before, did you at least go back and study those marriages that failed before and understood why they failed? Or did you just look at what they did and just move forward from there?
I studied them very clearly. That's
Okay.
why I came to the conclusion that I had. And they were various reasons, but it all led to the same thing. But go ahead, continue.
Okay, so you studied those marriages and you
Hmm.
learned why they failed. And so your issue, when you learn how they failed, your reasoning was just like since they failed in marriage, I'm not going to commit to marriage on paper. I'm only going to commit to marriage in ideal.
No, no, yes and no. What I learned is that
trust was more important to me. Vowing and living up to your word was more important than a piece of paper. And so when I find somebody who can actually live up to their word is what I valued and what I looked for and what was appealing. And that is what I also extended. I gave my word, I kept my word.
And you look for partners that share the same value.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's we good then.
Okay.
All right.
But I'm curious the reason why I was curious because I'm curious to understand where was that lost in translation because I thought I was being clear and obviously I wasn't. So I want to know where that was lost in translation.
No, you wasn't very direct with your comment. You was like kind of roundabout with it.
Okay.
They say men. I mean, you guys are the gatekeepers to marriage. So you believe in marriage at this point, or are you still struggling? I think I kind of heard you say that, but there's
No,
a reason why you didn't take it there with her. So
I believe in the institution of marriage, but I also understand that the foundation again is built in trust. So now in my approach, I want to learn to trust my future wife and be able to establish that that's what's most important for our relationship to build on. And when I do find that, I'm looking forward to building.
We had
I
this
honestly think
conversation
that
on this.
trust comes from, you know, I don't think that you can learn to trust from a person. I think that truly comes from God, and you're a believer,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
So, if you're learning to trust, then that's something that you have to continuously ask God for. Because if you're trying to learn to trust with people gonna let you down. They're going to fail you almost
I,
every day.
I
They're
agree
imperfect. We're
wholeheartedly.
imperfect.
I'm not
So
trying Precious, I'm not trying to learn to trust people. I actually do trust in God, but I'm trying to identify people who have that same value or who have that same value in trust that I do. And again, it's not trusting in one another's per se. It could be trusting in God. I've always said, I said it earlier in this conversation. Who do you listen to other than yourself?
mhm.
So one thing I've learned about relationships is that it's like you don't get into a relationship. Okay, you go in there whole right and not incomplete. We should go in whole and incomplete, not incomplete. What happens? Most of us go in relationships incomplete, and we take an incomplete idea into a relationship, and then we struggle with that incomplete idea. We project that incomplete idea onto people that we're dealing with. If we tackle marriage and relationships from a whole perspective, which means I'm gonna deal with myself first and make sure that I'm right, make sure I understand my values, my principles, my standards, then I won't deal with certain elements. So therefore, what happened in the past will never affect me because I want this situation whole. When I hear people speaking in generalities, it's like they haven't recognized how they're incomplete and how they're unhealthy, and they're trying to establish another relationship. You should never establish a relationship until you're healthy and whole.
In
You're
general,
absolutely right. And this is part of the reason why I said it's so dangerous out there because not a lot of people are honoring what you just said.
that's that, and what Sean Bolden just
But it
said,
all
I
starts
agree
with
with.
us. It
Huh?
all starts with us.
Yeah.
And instead of saying, they are not doing, she ain't doing, it all starts with us. It does.
You notice
And
I
I'm
didn't
actually
say
getting to a point where I'm doing these panels and I'm tired of they ain't doing, I'm getting to a point where I'm tired of it because if we're not going to take accountability for what we're doing and what we're not doing, then talking about other people, honestly, I might as well just shut down shop.
okay. Well,
It's getting to a point now where it's just like, the blame game is so strong out here in these streets. It's like, oh, everybody must be walking around perfect.
but you notice, Precious, I said us. I didn't say gender specific because I'm not saying that it's women or men. A lot of us um don't take and value honor. Period. And and it is frustrating to me personally because I see it in both. I see the hypocrisy in a lot. So I just joke about it now and I make fun of it and I say I'm a bachelor and so on and so forth. But the reality is that truthfully, we're not honoring and we're not saying what I've been saying all night. Our words and our heart are not matching up, and we keep on dismissing and missing that and act as if we're holier than thou and so on and so forth. But the true reality is that a lot of people are just not honoring honor.
So
That's a
okay,
fact. That's a fact. That's a fact, John the Baptist. A lot of people do not honor. They don't. And they don't value it either. A lot of people don't. But it goes back to what I said. Like when I meet people like that, I just okay, this isn't gonna work out, and I just shut it down then, and I move on. Okay, you know what I mean? And so and it goes back to what I said earlier when I was talking about how a lot of women move in fear, right, Sean? Now that we know that, all you have to do now is figure out how to maneuver through that. You know what I mean? Now, some people they can break past that barrier. Other people, they're just not. They're just stuck there in fear. You know. So the thing is, I mean, once you get one who's just stuck in fear, don't bother because that's not going to go anywhere fast. And if it does go the distance, it's not going to end well. Not for you, at least. That person's scared. They've been hoarding away money. They've been doing all the kind of stuff in the name of fear. And they're always afraid that you're up to something that you're not up to, which is going to cause them to blame you for stuff you're not doing. And a lot of that comes from trauma from their past relationships. And so you're getting blamed for things that you're not guilty of. So the thing is, you have to learn how to now maneuver through that. Just keep that in mind, the fear part. Someone's moving in fear, they could be a sweetheart. They could be a good woman otherwise. However, because they're moving in fear, they can never be a wife.
What's the advice then for somebody like Corey who was married for 20 plus years and something changed?
Well, I mean, if something changed within the course of that marriage, I know some people say that there were no red flags. You didn't see it coming. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you didn't see it coming. But in that case, I mean, you're back out.
There was lots of flags.
Well,
So
there you
I've been married.
go. There were flags, and
They're just too stupid and young to see them.
there you go.
So
Okay.
So I
so
mean,
No,
so there
this
you
accountability.
go.
year,
See? Okay.
this
Okay.
week,
Fair.
this week,
Fair.
this week,
Fair.
we
Right.
celebrate 20.
Well, because when that cheerleader outfit came off and that bikini showed up, oh God, it was over.
Fair. Okay.
I was
There you go.
22 years old. Okay, I had one mission.
So this week,
And there you have it.
my wife and I
Okay.
we celebrate 20 years of marriage. We
Congratulations.
got
Wow.
married.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I was 21 and she was 19 when we got married. And so to that question, what do you do when people change? Well, of course, people change over 20 years, right? You're going to change. But as men, if you're not watching life and watching your family, you're going to miss the signs of change. And you won't know how. You men have to be direct, and men have to be intentional about what you're seeing. When you see things that come up that challenges your principles and standards that you're setting for the family, and it's going to cause change when these things come, you have to be ready for it and make plans to get people back on track inside the family. Most men are just like I said, how Corey was just saying, he had one mission at 21, 22. He had one mission. And that's how most people miss the red flag. That's how they miss the change. You cannot afford just to be focused on sex and think you're gonna make it past 20 and 30, 40 years. And it's gonna guarantee you anybody's gonna make it. But if you're not intentional, if you're not direct and intentional and principles and standard based, you don't have a chance.
I was really too trusting and too naive because I was actually teaching Sunday school when that happened.
Oh, I'm not even talking church. Church is not going to get you through this.
Oh man,
No,
you want to know
no.
what happened? The older I got, I seen single men coming in hitting on all the married women, and then I seen the preachers up there telling men they need to do better. But if the men stop paying the tithe, the damn lights don't even turn on.
No,
And
okay,
then you
but
get home
okay,
and the wife forgets
that's
her
separate.
place. Well, hang on. The wife forgets her place and says, well, the pastor said. It's like, wait, first of all, I am your ministry, not that man. That man
Of
don't pay the
course, but
bills in this house. There's so much that goes on these days. And I tell you, a lot of it is meddling pastors in marriage. You know, there's a warning in there where it says, don't scatter my sheep. And these
of
pastors
course, but that's
overstep
what
their bounds. I've sat on staff in 3 churches. I mean, I know what I'm talking about.
I'm not even saying you don't. What I'm saying to you is to challenge that notion is that when you are the man and leader of your family, if you see a pastor that's leading the church in the direction that you want your family to go, then you as the head of your house, you move your family. You don't sit up under that teaching that's going against what you believe.
Oh no, we changed churches. The problem was is that mindset stuck in her head. She didn't want to let it go because it was
Well,
power.
then you did okay. So
It
okay,
was
this is what you
power.
did. Okay, so
Her mama,
another.
her
Okay,
mama was a Southern woman. She had that power trip, and oh man, it didn't work with me. I was too young and naive.
okay,
I'm over.
okay. Here go to me. Here we go again. No disrespect, but just speaking directly what you're talking about. Here go the excuses. So like every man who's a husband and a father, if you're dealing with kids and a wife, you're going to have these issues come up. You're gonna have strong-willed people, and you got people that have their own mindset. But you have to be stronger than that will, stronger than that mindset. And what you have to do, instead of letting the pastor brainwash the church or brainwash your family, you may have to separate from the church, teach and instruct your family away from the church in your personal home. Because you cannot use what the pastor is doing and what the church is doing as an excuse of not knowing to recognize the red flags.
I'm talking clearly about unequally yoked.
Which is what I'm saying. Okay, so when you get your wife alone, get her at home, and you teach in your home. You don't have to go to the church to teach. You can teach at home.
John, that
And
sounds
yes,
great, and you have a very good point. But let's be realistic. That teaching is influenced in a lot of different ways. We're not just talking church. We also have the influence of society. We have the and
here we go
you
again.
know
Here we
wait
go again
wait
with the
wait, and,
excuses. Go
and
ahead.
bro, I don't make excuses. I speak facts. And the fact is that that is a very significant additive into your theory. And so, as you're speaking and you're talking about excuses, it's a fact. It's not an excuse. It's a reality.
Okay,
Now, there are ways to go ahead and challenge that to your point, and there are way, and that's what you're suggesting. But you're sitting there downplaying and dismissing that it's not a fact. You're part of the issue.
mm-mm. I didn't say it wasn't a fact. I didn't. An excuse can still be a fact. It still can be a true statement. It still be an excuse. What I'm saying is, as an authoritative man, as God has made you head of the house. God has made you head of the family. If you spiritually speaking, if you're a spiritual person, God has made you head. You are God's image in marriage. And so if the systems and principles that God gives us is the same ones that we now teach into our families. So I don't care if it's the church, I don't care if it's society, I don't care if it's school, I don't care if it's any organization, I don't care what it is. If you are the man, it's your job, it's your duty, it's your honor, it's your respect. It's how you get your duty or respect. It's how you teach these principles.
Well, you
And
know,
so
when I said equally yoked,
when you see your wife and kids being influenced by the world, then you have to take note of that. When your kids and wife being influenced by the world, you have to take note of that and find out what am I going to do to institute change so this doesn't infiltrate my home.
well,
Okay, now,
John, when I
John,
said equally yoked, I was talking literally about I was raised West Coast. It's very diverse over here, but her family made racist jokes about black people because they're from the South. That didn't mix.
Yeah,
My
especially they
my
come down here
family,
to Montgomery,
my
Alabama.
that's like the core. Well, her family come from Georgia,
Yeah, they went in
and
Montgomery talking that nonsense.
I tell you what, every
It doesn't
holiday
make a
and all
difference.
those meetings, and I had to sit through them stupid racist jokes, and I'm sitting here thinking, you do know my family's Native American, they are black, they are Latino, we're blended.
Wow.
and they're making these jokes. I mean, how am I supposed to sit there and be comfortable with that?
So what I did, so what you do is again, because there are people in every family whose family members do idiotic and crazy and stupid stuff. As a man, I've learned over the years when to cut people out.
Yeah, and the thing is with that, what John's talking about, I do agree with. But fellas, it goes back. I say this all the time. Again, you have to be competent. You have to be as competent as you possibly can, not only for your wife in marriage, but for yourself. Period. To be honest, you know what I mean. And the right woman would notice that. You know, like John saying, okay, if the church is influencing your wife or your children in the wrong way, then you take it upon yourself if you have to, and teach it and have church at home with you and your family. You preach the word to them. You know.
Agreed. But one thing that the church, and then when we're speaking of the Lord, that we often overlook is the fact that the Lord gave us choice. And so therefore, as people and individuals, we have to give grace and understanding to that. So the choice that your family has under your, because the Lord Himself is over everybody, and we still have the choice to make bad decisions. And that is a reality of things that we do. And to sit and say removing anything, we can't remove choice. And
Right.
that's
Okay,
the
you
one
can't,
thing
right?
that
So let me,
And
you
think,
can't remove choice, right? So let me show you let me show you how you handle choice.
I
Like
didn't
you
hear you.
said, I'm gonna show you how we handle choice. I'm leading this way, and if I'm going this way, you don't want to go this way, you can go out on your own. Biblical example, the prodigal son.
exactly.
The father wanted his son to
Absolutely.
be with him. The father wanted his son to be with him. But what the father wasn't going to do was change his standards and principles for his household. So he sent the son on his own way. So you have to be willing, like I said earlier, if there are people who are attached to you who don't want to be attached to you, don't hold on to them. Let them
It's
go.
gonna
Absolutely.
hurt.
I agree with
It's
that.
gonna hurt, Sean. It may hurt, Sean. It might burn, but you gotta let that
You
burn.
you you,
You know, I mean, the
you
thing
got to
is,
realize that's something that you're right. I'm beyond there. That's beyond my point at this juncture in my life. I am beyond that. I'm like, okay, I I I've been having to practice let go and let God, and that's one of the biggest challenges I think in life with anyone. Having faith. With faith, you have no worries. That's a challenge of every human, and we often are challenged with that. And if we act as if we aren't, then we aren't being human. Control is the enemy, I said, of women, but it's also the enemy of men. We're
Mhm.
not in control of anything. And when we surrender and we understand the totality of surrendering, that's where I am. And unfortunately, what I was bringing up and the points that I was making up and what I make just about now is that a lot of people say they want to surrender, both men and women alike, but they don't do it.
And so
So
that's where Precious made the comment, what made the title of the show, "Delusion is Real." You have to
absolutely.
realize you one thing I've learned is one thing I'm learning as I get older is that we have to understand when people say one thing but do another, and when to cut those people off. Because if you don't have principles, standards, and purpose, I can never say it enough. If you don't have principles, standards, and purpose, what's keeping you towards your goals and visions? Anybody can come in and throw you off track. This is why I struggle with being today because we I'm not saying don't acknowledge facts, but don't let these facts become excuses to where like, well, I got to deal with this, I got to deal with this, so just make it a no, yeah, life is going to be freaking hard.
Okay. You're right. So let me ask you this question. You've been married for 20 years, and congratulations. I commend that.
28.
And 28, I'm sorry. Congratulations, and I commend that. If your wife made the choice tomorrow to say, okay, I'm not going in your direction, you're just doing it as simply as you just said it.
I didn't say it was simple. I said this is what it is. You know,
I know,
you
but
can't as a
you
man.
made reference, but you implied that people and men are frustrating you because they haven't made that choice as definitively
Because
as you might think they should. And I'm asking
no,
you, would you do the same?
what I'm saying to you, what I would do is if she decides she want to go a different direction, she doesn't want to follow my leadership, I can't make her stay. I got to keep going forward. I'm going to teach, encourage what I'm supposed to be doing, stay on my job, stay on my task. Whatever decision she make doesn't reflect on me as a man. What I'm starting
Okay,
to see a lot of
so
today's
you're
time, what
leaving
I'm
her,
starting,
you're cutting her off. So I'm asking you, are you cutting her off the way you just described it?
I just said yes. I thought I said yes to that.
No, you said I'm gonna still have grace and I'm still gonna do. But
No,
then, okay, well maybe I
I'm teaching
misheard
this. I'm teaching it. I'm teaching the instruction the way I'm going. If she doesn't want to go that way, she doesn't have to go.
you. Okay, and so you're just leaving her as
No,
as
she's leaving me. No, she's leaving me.
well, tomato tomato. Okay, cool. I'm not disputing your choice. I'm just asking the question because
Yeah,
it seemed like you were saying you were frustrated with uh and
I'm
this is what
frustrated. I'm frustrated with men who who rely on excuses. Although it's a fact, don't let that fact be an excuse. Your principles and
and,
standard doesn't
and
change. Your Go ahead.
I agree. No, I agree. I agree with that.
That's all I'm
I
saying.
agree.
It's like
I get frustrated. Yeah, no, I get frustrated with anyone, men, women, indifferent, who don't live by what they say.
Mm,
I give
And
you a prime. I give you another
yeah.
prime example. I give you another prime example. I find myself all the time telling men, you have the right to have sex whoever you want to have sex with. You have the right to do that. But think about it. Is your right benefiting you in society? You have the right to do it. You can sleep with any people, you can sleep with any amount of women you want to sleep with. You could do it if it's legally right. But is your right benefiting you in society?
That's a fact.
Nope,
I
because now
said
you're
that
sleeping
earlier.
with these people that you don't want to marry. You're creating the women you don't want to marry. So it's like,
But I'm like this. You're right, and that's why I put a lot of emphasis on men and their irresponsibility and the state of why we are in relationships, the state of where our relationships are today. Because basically, you used your free will to do what you wanted, and it wasn't specific or considerate of your wife or others. And now, when they're exercising the same thing that they learned from you, you're frustrated and angered about it. Makes no
And
sense to me.
so your choice led to your consequence. Now modern day men talking about, well, we can't find any pure women. Yeah, because you done ran through them all. You're part of the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think is these guys on
No,
these.
that's the truth. I mean, if you
Yeah,
run through women like McDonald's, I mean, what the hell?
you're not even
drive
trying.
through
Right, and
getting strawberry pies and whatnot.
right. I'm like, you're not even. You're running through women like that. You're not even trying. Well, I found one. I'm like, okay, that clock works both ways, bro. Okay, you think just women have a biological clock? I mean, bro, the time's gonna run out for you too.
Well, you know, Mandrill,
Not every 20-year-old is looking for a guy in his 40s and 50s and 60s. I mean,
Mandrill, when I
let's be
divorced
real.
my wife, I never went on another date after that. I have not been with another woman because I'm still moving like a husband. I don't, if I go out there and I find a woman that's single and she's still going out on dates all the time, she's not moving like a wife. The Bible says a man who finds a wife, how many women actually qualify for that statement? It never
Yeah,
said finds a
Well, I
woman.
mean, you don't win
It
the
said
game unless
finds
you
a
stay in it.
wife. If you
But
got guys coming up on you every month, you are not moving like a wife.
that's not true because guys are gonna approach
Oh no,
regardless.
it ain't, because the Bible says you're not supposed to do that.
It says that,
well,
but
you say you're still moving like a husband, but you're not a husband. You're a single man. You're not a husband. You're a single man, and I think that because of our experiences in our past, I think alluding back to what John the Baptist was saying, we get stuck in our ways, and then they
Yeah, but
become our ball and chains. They become our excuses. And I wanted to show that clip with the guy. What is he, a coach or a basketball player or something like that?
Gilbert
King?
Arenas is a former
Gilbert Arenas,
basketball player.
he's a
But that's
basketball player.
ironic because you're saying a man's not supposed to have standards because it doesn't fit the societal norm. Well, those are my standards. I don't want a woman in my life that is having men run up on her every month. I'm not going to put a ring on that.
That's understandable, but if you're moving like a husband, you would be one. You would
But
be
wait,
I have to
that's
find
not
one of
entirely
value.
true.
I have
That's
to
not
right, but
find
a
entirely
one
true.
husband.
that
Okay,
meets my standards.
A husband
okay.
is, that's not entirely true in both standards, wife and a husband, because that's like saying that men who are married are moving like husbands traditionally or honestly, and that's the point. Moving like a husband, how do we define that? Would be a better topic of conversation before we say one is not or
I
one
just
is.
pick up a book and read it. I don't guess.
And if we're going by the book
Yeah,
and
but I
scripture,
mean,
then probably 95%, if not 99% of the people on this earth are not following the standard.
Well, you just explained my problem.
Well, okay, so let's okay. This is where I try to keep off. This is why I try to keep the focus. I try to focus on the word. I try to focus on those comes when they come to marriage and relationships. I try to focus on those come themselves believers. The world gonna do what the world want to do. The first thing we need to target is if you're talking about marriage, we need to correct the people who are calling themselves believers and what's the standard of marriage if you're a believer. Now, if the world buys into what the church is doing or what believers are doing, then that's a bonus. Because if we let our light shine and people look at us like, oh, you know what? I like what they're I like what Sean is doing. His marriage seems to be working for him. And I want to like talk to Sean and feel like, what did you do to make it work? But what the problem with the church is we're not doing that. We're not moving this way. We're moving more like the world. And the church and the world's looking at the church like, I don't want to do what y'all doing. Y'all just as bad as us.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. It goes back to what I said earlier, trust. They don't trust you and you don't trust them. And that's why they don't go to you. And when they do trust you, they do go to you.
all
I'm
righty.
Yeah,
So
but
we're
reminded
gonna
of an
start
old
giving our
saying,
final thoughts,
lead by
guys.
example. You can't lead if you're not an example. I mean, if you're out here running around, running through women every month, I mean, why should somebody stop and listen to you about church? Honestly, why should they listen to anything you talk about when it comes to religion or beliefs? I mean, they can't tell the difference.
All right, who wants to starts with their final thoughts? I agree with that, but we got to wrap it up. So,
I guess I
uh,
gotta go
Roommate,
first.
yes.
Don't be scared. Put yourself out there. Simple. If you're scared, you're not going to get the opportunity you want. If you hold yourself back, you're never going to make the opportunity. You need to put yourself out there and take the chance, leap of faith. Very simple.
All righty, Sean Bolden.
I'm a sucker for love, brother, but I'm not a sucker, love. Don't take my kindness for granted because I granted you kindness, love. You're farsighted. You can't see what's right in your face. Want what you don't have, and what you have don't appreciate. I'll leave it there.
All right, open mic night. Sean from the dating game, are you still with us?
Yep, still here. I've been listening in the background. It's productive conversation tonight. Thanks for having me on. I kind of mentally checked out at the end because I'm on the fence when it comes to religion, and if I had to label myself, I'm a man of science. I'm not saying I don't believe in religion, but I believe in what I can prove and what I can see, and that's no shade to anyone else who believes in religion and gods, deities, and this and that. But I'm more of the mindset of what I want to make happen. I'm going to make that happen by putting forth the effort, and hopefully good things will come my way. Once again, no shade to any of you guys, but I kind of checked out the end because of that, because I had nothing constructive to add. But once again, thank you. It was very constructive live stream.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here, Sean. Corey.
Huh? Well, I think I stirred it up a little bit. Controversial white guy up here. Oh wait, Mandrill, I'm almost as dark as you. I've been getting a tan. Hey, you ain't never living down $600 skinny jeans, bud. That ain't
They
gonna.
wear
Oh
skinny
no.
jeans. I don't wear skinny jeans. Like, you didn't see me in person, but that would be the most ridiculous thing I ever put on in my life. I would
It looked.
deserve to get
It
roasted
looked
for
like
that.
skinny jeans on a grape, wouldn't it?
I'm just saying I can't like it. I would not look
Let's
right in
stick
skinny
to the
jeans.
final thoughts, guys. Let's stick to the final thought.
um. Yeah, I don't know really how to land that plane. I guess do your thing. I'm good.
All right, Mandro. Mandro. Testing. Is this thing on? Mandro.
Oh, my turn? Okay. My bad. My bad, Precious. And I apologize for earlier. I was leaving the gym and all that. So,
His
oh
pants are
Lord.
too tight.
Anyway, disgusting. Anyway, listen, ladies, stop moving in fear. That's one of your, from my observation, that's one of your biggest roadblocks in between where you are today and finding the man of your dreams. Many of you have found that guy, but you pissed it away with that bullshit. What if he does this? What if he does that? I don't know if I can trust him. I don't know this. I don't know that. Well, listen, there are going to be signs if you can trust him or not. If he's a guy who does what he says, okay, ride along with that and see where it goes. You know, if he's a guy who consistently does what he says, either all of the time or most of the time, that's a guy you can trust. That's a guy you can follow. Those are good signs. Keeping things away from him, your husband, ideologies like that, that's not going to work. Both of you have to grab each other by the hand, close your eyes, and jump off the cliff together in marriage. It takes both of you jumping all the way in. You know, the difficult part is there are guys who are willing to take that leap of faith with you, but because you're so afraid, you're unwilling to do so. Moving in fear gets you nowhere. It's just you get to a certain point, there you stop, there you stay. That's why a lot of you are going to end up single. You're not getting this part of the lesson. Fellas, in order for you to demand anything from a woman, you got to first be that dude. You have to be competent. You have to be selfless. You have to be all those things before you get married, before you meet the woman. You got to have all that stuff in you. And it's not like you can't learn it. It's not like you can't train it. It's not like you can't forge it into yourself. You have to practice these things. You have to learn to get away from instant gratification, something for nothing, making excuses. Stop talking about what you're going to do, getting a nice body, get in the gym and do it. Get a nutrition plan, hire a trainer, do it. Get some certifications or education, make more money. You have to be that dude. And these women are right to demand certain things of you. They're right. You want things, and so do they. That's me. That's the oven.
Oh, I'm like,
Yeah, that's the oven. But yeah, these women are right to demand certain things of you. You have standards, so do they. You have to meet to their standards. Yes, you do. You have to meet their standards just like they got to meet yours. Just because you're the man and you're supposed to be the head of the relationship doesn't mean it's a free ride. And if you're looking forward to having that kind of power, you clearly never had it. Anybody who wants power has either never had it or should never be in charge of anything. Take it from me, fellas. I've seen it happen both ways. I've been in positions of power. I don't like it. It's very rewarding, but I don't like it. Never have. So you can take that with a grain of salt if you like. Take that with you. Those are my final thoughts. And fellas, stop crying and do something about it. All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
That part.
you. John the Baptist, and then we'll end with the actual King Smith.
My final thought is this: delusion is real, and one of the opponents of delusion is accountability. Uh, and men and women, most definitely men need to have a hold yourself accountable and those around you accountable. And no matter if they agree with whether they agree with you, hold them accountable, disagree with you, you still do it. It's your job. It's your job as men to do it. To hold people accountable and to check delusion, and because delusion will destroy a family and society. Whatever principles you use, whether you're myself, I'm a believer. Those who are atheists who don't follow my faith, then you develop your own personal standard. But the responsibility still does not change. It's accountability that defeats delusion. That's my final thought.
Thank you, thank you. And my co-host,
I
Actual King
love
Smith, close us out, sir.
there's a mix of what Mandrell said and what John the Baptist said is what I also rock with as well. For me, the biggest thing is as a man internally, if you have standards, make sure you're also living up to those standards as well, because you can't force something that you're not doing yourself. People will be quick to call you out. uh I am raising my hand as a guy that messed up in the past, that didn't have necessarily a leg to stand on trying to enforce certain things, and making the excuse and the mistake and say, well, I'm taking care of things over here, so this should happen. But I still really wasn't keeping up to the things that I should have been doing. And I understood that later in life. Going forward, um, I'm not going to make that mistake again. Now, as a joke, I'm going to throw this out there. What Gilbert Arenas said right there at the end. Look, the market is what the market is, right? If some people need their tuition paid and they want to do something strange for a little bit of change, it's out there, right? The supply is there. Business principles, plain and simple. If the market wants to correct itself, then tell the supply not to make it readily available at 250 or $80 on the streets of Baltimore. That's all I have.
All right, all right. Well, guys, I really appreciate you. I appreciate the super chats that I saw coming in. Ruthless Truth says Hank is the king of toxicity. Don't be so about Hank when you're not on a panel. Can't even defend himself. And then we have John the Baptist who sends $10 super sticker. So I really do appreciate you guys. This has been a good one. Um, you guys came with the, the perspectives, the opinions, and I do appreciate them. I do like to, move the conversation along, and I believe that we were able to do that tonight. I want us to get away from the blame game and, take accountability and just move forward in our goals and what we're, striving for. Because the more we talk about what people aren't doing or what how they aren't the people for us. Words are powerful. And so I don't want to continue to get on these panels week after week after week and blame and blame and blame and blame and blame. We need to claim, 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 claim instead of blame, right? So, let's do a little bit more claiming of what we want and working towards that and being that instead of blaming others, because there are just going to be some people that are left behind. There are going to be some people that are just not going to get it. They're stuck in their ways or stuck in their delusions, right? But because we know delusion is a real thing, then we have to change our mindsets. We have to change some of our ideologies and the way that we approach things, because we're really never going to get to that end goal if we're stuck in certain, ways of thinking. And I love that you guys come on the panel and give your perspectives, and you have a lot of perspectives to share. And I just, I hold you guys at a high standard. And so I want to get away from, there is nothing but thoughts and this and this and that out there, because there's not only just that out here. And so again, I appreciate you. I thank you for coming on the panel, guys. If you haven't, definitely like the video, share this live, and subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. You guys can follow everyone up here on their respective platforms. Everyone who is in the chat, thank you so much for being here this evening. But you guys know how I always end my shows. Be real with yourself so you can be real with others. Happy Tuesday and have a great evening, guys. Bye bye.